so much for the game. It was awesome.
Oh, sure.
I was just so tired. I didn't feel well, but it was fantastic.
You persevered through it. That was.
Oh yes, I did. I felt miserable the whole day until we started. Then I felt good. And then I just moved out.
Yeah, you were on adrenaline.
Yep. Well, you played with in your game with Ed Greenwood and Tony and Stella and Eric and it was awesome. Yeah.
It was a blast.
Okay.
And to think we'll be doing it in the future again. You know, it's not like that'll be the last time ever. You know.
No, that's
the cool thing.
Yep.
So.
And I like my character. She was simple and straightforward. No big.
Yeah, and you noticed that you didn't have much thieving. You didn't need to check for traps that much or anything like that.
No,
so
it was a very straightforward.
Awesome, Dorgrim. You can hear us.
Okay, good. Yep.
What's up, Chemist? What's up, Galger? What's up, everyone out there? Dorgrim, thank you so very much for that. Yeah, we're still on cloud 9 from last night.
Yep.
Oh, okay. And Jay missed hitting a button, so there we go.
Uh-oh.
Ah, it's all right. So, yeah. Ever mysterious Tim will be joining us. So, I know he's going to have a lot to say on this topic tonight.
Yeah.
So.
I'm kind of curious to see how many versions of the Mage you have. So
well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
I know about 3, so yeah. So
yeah, there's more than that. I mean, the base Mage itself.
Yeah, you tweaked that one too, so that's interesting. And then I know 2 other. We saw one that Ed played yesterday.
Yeah, and that's the newest one. That's the
exactly.
One.
And I heard about the Necromancer, so I know those 3, and that's it. So
there's some other ones too. One we talked about last week was Zeb Cook. He created.
Oh, the Wild Mage. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
When you see the pile of books, this is like probably the biggest pile of reference books I brought, for this one. So glad you guys can hear us. That's awesome. Had a nice Mother's Day dinner. That was nice. Over 8, which is bad. That sound check's good. Haven't forgotten anything. Should be pretty prepared for this. So,
yeah.
That's a good thing. Let's hit this next. So, what's up, Mymorph? Good to see you. I got a couple good post stories after last night, too. I'll share a couple.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it was the most viewed show so far?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, live. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. What's up, Lord Ford? That's all right, man. Step away, make dinner, look away. It's fine.
Yeah.
Understand that real life stuff gets in the way sometimes. You know? It's all good. Shoutouts. I think I updated all the shoutouts. I'll talk to myself. What's up, Mike? What's up there, Troy? Build it and they will come. How about this? Cheer it and they won't die. Although Troy did give me a lot of specials last night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he gave him a lot to me too, so which was a blast. And I used him on that crit on Eric Boyd's character too. That was funny. So how do you all is neutral? Yeah, Telegor got that. He's lucky he only got triple from the Juju Zombie. I mean, that was still a lot of damage. I mean, they do 3 to 12 on one hit, and triple that. That was pretty nasty. So, part of the game. Look at that. It's only 7:23. We're in good shape. I have a weird suspicion Tim may be dressing up for tonight again. Don't hold me to that, but it's very possible that Tim may be showing up with some kind of special outfit. I don't know. We'll see.
Take off my sweater.
I was cold all day here. It was like cold and clammy, and I'm like up in this room. I'm like, I gotta put on shorts and no sweatshirt or nothing like that, because I'm always melting in this room. There you go. Yeah. Whip emoji. Ugh. So, well, can you beat the no just no emote there? I know it's a tier 3 one, but delving. I'm sorry, this is in the delving. Haha! those were a year and a half ago. We're gonna spice up the Magic class tonight. This applies to all editions, of course. Specifically, I can talk about my old school. So, but I think it can apply to everything. Smart idea, Rox. It's our. I was talking with Tim on the date. I think we're gonna be hitting it. I don't know. Probably first week in June. Weekend in June with them. So, look, the music's gonna end, and we're gonna be like 2 minutes early from our 2 minutes early. So I'll come on and BS a little bit. How's that sound? So, I know we're a little early tonight. Oh, look, I don't even have the Zoom up. Oh, Jay, there you go, Anna. Yep. Boom. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jay Kidlorca Zumba. I got Anna Meyer with me, representing tonight. And
exactly. I have to represent tonight.
Yes.
Yep.
And hey, Doc, what's going on, man? The ever mysterious Tim will be joining us as soon as he's mentally, physically able, and that's kind of a scary thing when you think about it. So, to start off, I'm just gonna say it again, man. Thank you, everyone. Last night was an unbelievable, unmitigated, penultimate success.
It was fun.
Records everywhere, for the stream. And I thank you for the support. And Ed was really, and so was Eric Boyd. I mean, the whole crew and Tony, the three who had never played before, were really surprised at the level of audience interaction that we have on
Mhm.
a D&D stream. A lot of people are like, D&D stream, you just sit there and watch, right? And I'm like, no, that's not what we do. You know, we like to have you all, you know, we like to have the audience interact in it and have a little fun
Yeah.
with it.
Mhm. Yep.
And you know, that was oh, thanks, Thunder. Yeah, it was really a blast. And so Ed's character class that he played is, and we're going to talk about that class tonight. The Greyhawk Mage is a. I'm going to say it. I didn't create it. My buddy Alan did. You know, Alan's the one who makes the the critical hit tables that we use and all, and kind of
Mhm.
is the one who doesn't show himself on stream much. But this idea for this class, I think, is going to work really well, and it works well for what Ed liked, because Ed likes the the study and the research of the spells and all.
Yeah.
And when we got off stream, Stella said on Zoom, amongst the seven of us, said the coolest thing, the funniest thing I really had to chuckle about was you gave to Ed's character,
Mhm.
Ravalantar, one of Ed's own named
Spells as a
Elminster
reward. Yeah.
spells.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, this is Greyhawk.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, so what's up,
They're
Von
hard
Mulk?
to come by in Greyhawks. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point for it. And
Yep.
so that's where we are. So tonight, okay, spicing up the magic user class. How many times do you hear? So we got a question for Thunder. Did you enjoy playing a more loose character, the Archer Thief, a multi-class character?
Yes, I did, and
Mhm.
in a way, I liked because it was a very straightforward. I didn't have that many features. I was good at a few things. I could use a bow, I could use a couple of sword, and I had my thieving abilities, but I didn't get a chance to use. But it was a very simple, very straightforward character. No fuss, no spells to learn, whatever. But still, a kind of a versatile character in some ways. She could fight. She's good at both distance and fairly good up close, and she has some stealthy sneaking around capabilities. So I kind of
Yeah,
liked it. Yeah.
and it was outdoor situations. It wasn't a dungeon
Hmm.
crawl where you're checking for traps everywhere. You
No, but
know,
she, thanks to her ranged thing, she's still very useful at a distance from outdoors, because
yeah.
you tend to get the longest distance in encounters outdoors, and there where she shines.
And for the longest time, when the I'm sorry, Ed, listen to me. When the Leonard Kafka Archer came out, they had an Archer Ranger in the class listing, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's the only multi-class I'm going to allow. So, but then I broke down and allowed some base classes. So they allow Archer
Hmm.
Thief, Archer Mage, Archer Cleric.
Yeah.
The table's brutal. Archer is slower to go up than Ranger, and
Yeah.
so
But what about Archer Fighter? Would that be?
Archer's a subclass of fighter.
Oh, okay. So you
Technically,
don't.
it's still a
Yeah.
fighter
Hmm.
subclass, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, but the Archer Ranger is kind of that special hybrid class.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Wow. Well, Mage Monk. I mean, Mage Monk's completely legit for dual classing. You know.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of things you can do in the game, and so mages we're going to talk about tonight, and how many
Well, yeah,
times?
and
Yeah. Go ahead,
Thunder
Hannah.
Bay asked the question here.
Sure.
So
Go
if
for it.
I enjoy
Answer.
playing a more loose character, yeah, I wanted her to. First of all, she's not as smart, and so I tried to. She's more kind of going gung ho, going straight in, and meaning when I play Imri, she's a smart cookie, so she kind of thinks through carefully before she does things and stuff. But Nira, I play her more like, okay, come on, let's go and have fun and do it. So and I was also very tired yesterday. So it was a lot of fun and I loved it, but I was also very, very, very tired.
Yeah,
But
and
it was great. Yep.
so tonight, let me set up the giveaway. We'll do this
Yeah.
at
Sorry, I
least.
interrupted
No,
you.
you're
Yep.
good. You're good. Because I saw we're gonna give away at least this, and another one of these Greyhawk Adventure begins. It's a really great Roger
Yep.
Moore 1 2.5. It's very nice done. Courtesy of Canadian Ancient Gamer, and we'll go from there. In and out, it's fine. It's Mother's Day. I understand. We had all our festivities
Yep.
earlier. And it's all good. No worries on that, man. No worries at all. Hey, Cal Staff, glad to see I got a name with a face now, and you got your VIP badge there. I know we were talking on, I think it was on Sages of Greyhawk today.
Hmm.
So let's see if I hit the right button here. And let me set this up, and that should start it up. That should have started the giveaway up. Hey, Mike, it's good to see you, Mike.
Hello.
Mike, if you're bored out of your mind, Mike, listen. I'm not saying you have to. If you want to come on and hang and talk
Yes,
mages,
please
you're
do.
more than welcome to, Mike. I didn't, I know you're spotty on whether you're free or not. If you're always more than welcome to hop on a Gabbin if you want to talk about mages. Um, so okay, cool. Because we're waiting for the other mysterious Tim. So I want to show you a pile. Are you ready for this? Here is my pile that I use for my mate.
So that is all the rules for. Okay. Wow.
Okay, so these are the books,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
And I know you have like a master binder for a lot of stuff
and
too.
5
Yeah.
binders. All right. So we have out of mine we have the class
Have you?
binder,
Yeah.
classes and races
Mm-hmm.
binder. The
Then you have a spell binder,
the miscellaneous magic user binder. Now this binder has a lot of spells from the Great Net spell book,
Mm-hmm.
copied spells that are beyond, and like some of the publications that I made compilations of them. I'll explain that.
Yeah.
The Elementalist has its own. That's 6 classes. The Necromancer. Whoops.
Oh, black. That.
Oh yeah, you like that?
Fits. Yeah.
And then
That
this
fits
one's multiple ones. This is illusionists, wild mages, shadow mages, and actually bards and jesters that get magic user spells are in here
Oh.
too.
Now you got another. I was thinking which one you had. Shadow mages. That was another one. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and the shadow
That
mages.
you
That one's a
mentioned that I should
custom.
remember.
Yeah, that one I made myself. The shadow mage I made
Yeah.
is the one out of the necromancer I made from scratch too. Before I even had the great this book, which is an arm and a leg. Let me tell you, this is this book.
Oh yeah,
is
the
crazy.
Necromancer DM's.
Yeah, before I even
that
had
one is
this.
fantastic book.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Although that series of books are some of the best that have ever been made for
yeah.
D&D, in my opinion. They have the let's see, they have the humanoid gods, and there's there's a bunch of them, from Castle Guide to necromancers and stuff. They're all fantastic.
And the good thing about them is it's all supplemental rules. It's stuff you don't have to use.
Exactly.
Right?
They go into ideas and stuff about it and stuff. Yep. So they're great.
So what now? Gosh, how do I say this? You're starting off at some point. I'll give you an example. Mike. I know you're bouncing like Saxon. You're bouncing between Castles and Crusades or what edition you're going to use or whatever. And we've talked about this. You have a mage. You don't want to have your players' heads explode and throw all this at them. You pick and choose some cool things or some cool ideas, and hopefully I'm going to try and bring some of that to you on what I would suggest to do. And the first thing is I don't know about 5e, and maybe it's a little different in 5e, but who plays a straight magic user at all anymore? Just the magic user class, right?
Yeah, it's kind of, and especially old school, because that's my caveat with old school, is that they're useless up until they can basically do third level spells.
And that's where you got to be creative.
Yeah, and that to me is that, and that's my caveat with one of the main caveats with old school is that was the fourth edition that really came into, meaning they gave wizards something cool to do that they didn't run out of. That they could cast cool things forever, so to speak. They and cantrips and even powerful cantrips. And fifth edition kept it to some degree. So wizards are kind of cool even from first level, so they can do some cool things.
Now, we could go there with cantrips appear in Unearthed Arcana, right?
And, yeah, I think so. And I think there were dragon articles even before then with cantrips, zero-level spells, zero-level magic. There were several different versions of it, and the same thing for what they called orisons or something for clerics.
Yeah, almost like incantation before prayer or whatever.
Yeah, and they've been different. How many you can use and how powerful they were and stuff like that.
Right, and they were not. And they're. Hey, what's up, Walt? They were at the something that I just was like, I don't really want to go here. So I never used them because I don't know. consider me a pain in the ass when it comes to stuff like that, right?
No,
I
but
know
it
Tim
is
uses them.
a big step because you
Yeah.
give the wizard and the other classes that have casting classes that have it, you give them an unrelenting, meaning they can do it forever, always on, so to
Right.
speak. So you have to be careful when you implement it. Yeah.
So I'm going to open up. I thought I had it open up already. Walt, thanks a lot. And so Walt put a nice post up on if you are Facebook friends with me, on my Facebook page about Friday, which I found was very funny because they got Jim Ward playing in their game on Fridays. So you should always.
Yeah.
I thought I had a shout out to Old School. My God, I have so many things on my. Here it is. I do. There you go. So and thank you. It was funny. It was just funny with the direction that one went. It always amuses me how discussions go with certain people. That was entertaining. So I'm sorry, I'm babbling here. You gotta
No
remember.
problem.
So
Yeah.
here come. Look at that. All right. So we have a rare guest coming on to.
Yay! Awesome. Welcome, Mike.
All right, Mike.
Awesome.
Good to see you, man.
Yep.
Awesome.
So, someone summoned me?
Yeah, good.
Yep, we did.
We're
Good.
going to talk about spicing up some magic users tonight. Sound good?
Yep.
Spicing up magic
spice,
users.
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
So
here's
what-
here's a
Oh,
list
so go on.
here's a list of classes. So Mike is back. So Derek, do I have to make weird sounds to get those tonight? I know he's trying. Derek's trying to convince me to make weird sounds all last night, which is really funny. So if you have this is my races and classes list. All right, now I'm going to.
Oh, which ones are allowed to be
Yeah.
what sort of magic users?
Yes, this is all the classes, right? And it
Mhm.
goes down.
Ah, okay,
So
all the classes.
you know,
okay.
and it has subs, and this is all the races we have. This is the main list. So when we look at this, we're going to highlight this area of it, and then make some easy, quick little things that we can do to it. And here, this is the little sliver that we're going to concentrate on for subclasses. Now, I'm not talking about the main magic user class itself. Thank you, Crow, for that host as well. Say his name 3 times. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the subclasses that we're going to discuss, including the magic user, which I want to talk a lot about the base magic user and what you can do to make it more viable, is I can say this now: Zeb Cook's Wild Mage. Right, we
Mhm.
know Zeb.
Yeah.
We know Zeb created it from the interview last week. The Elementalist, which Zeb wasn't sure who made, so don't know on that. My Necromancer, my Shadow Mage, the base 1E Illusionist, 1E 2E / Illusionist. Yes, great, one of my favorites, man. It's in the pile, Mike. It's in the massive pile. The Incantatrix, which is in a Dragon magazine, we may not get to that. And it's a Forgotten Realms class. It's
I remember
okay.
that one.
What's that?
That one was in one of the first Dragon magazines I ever bought.
Yeah, it steals.
Okay.
They steal
Back in the day.
spells. Yeah. They're very, very rare. I have one NPC and one player character in my campaign, and that's it for it. What's up, Longshot? Good to see you, man. And lastly, I don't know if we're going to get to this at all because the witch doesn't belong in mages, but it was next on that list, so I put it in.
Oh yeah,
Witch is
but
its own class.
which is a kind of exactly. And we might go to weird classes in some other show, but it's an interesting because it's kind of an alternative depending on the rule system and stuff. And
Absolutely.
And I like the witch and they often describe take Igvil, for instance. She's described as a mage or witch depending on. So you can kind of play with it. It might just be something you call female evil wizards. You can call them witches or something. So yeah.
So Big Mac brings up something here. As far as and 2 things. Number 1, witch, the Timothy Brannan witch is the witch I use, which is and he has a 1E version of his book. He has them in all editions. So
and
secondly,
in 3rd edition, Pathfinder, which became one of the classes, so to speak. So yeah,
hey Rethix, good to see you, man.
Yep.
Good game yesterday with Skagith that I checked in on. That was really that was nice, man. Glad to see he's playing some great D&D again, which is cool. I love it when Skagith is DM and stuff and you're playing in it. So which technically is not a subclass of magic user, so you can actually have a magic user witch multi-class, believe it or not, which is kind of bizarre, but there is one in my game on that, but I don't want to. Where's that one witch from? Timothy Brannan's Witch. If you don't know Timothy Brannan, he's a big poster of on what, Twitter, Mike, right? He's done a lot of stuff. Timothy S. Brannan.
All things
I think he
witches.
done
Yeah.
some dragon articles and stuff back
Yeah.
in the day too, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
And I think it was $5 on, and it's orange. That book I didn't bring up. I think the 180 edition, which is like $5, but I think he's done 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 editions.
Okay.
I don't think he has
cool.
a 2, but I think he has all, because 182
Yeah.
is the same in that.
Yeah.
I think he has the Witch redone in all the editions
Yeah.
on there. Yeah, and Coma, you're absolutely correct. It's a fantastic book, and that's the one we use. We use that mixed with the Dragon Magazine article that Tim loves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's neat. So concentrating on the magic user, Mike, do you agree? Like, if you just play a 1E, 2E, or whatever edition magic user with no special abilities, you're going to be bored out of your mind for the most part. I'm talking about low levels now. First, second, third, fourth. You know, have you ever done that as a PC?
Yeah, all the time, really. Single class wizards.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the only way to get to your goal.
Well, that's the point, right? That's
Yeah.
the point. Is get there to high goal. What was your
Yeah.
what was the high level wizard name in your game?
Well, that I've played, not very high probably, but as a DM, I've had plenty. Let's see, second edition wise, we've probably had wizards, because once you get to where you can cast the wish spell, you're in the
18th.
archmage category.
Yeah.
So we've had 18th level wizards plus. Third edition, I had an epic campaign. We got to like level 25, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Almost 30. Yeah.
Wow.
So wizards.
Pomac.
Yeah. I think the highest I've ever had wizards were 18th level, I think was the highest we had back in the second edition era, or early. Yeah, it's the second edition. We had 18th level was the highest that we had. We had a bunch of 18 level paladin, wizard, and ranger, and it was a party that was from 16 to 19th level. I think there was an 18th level mage in there, and it started to get real tricky because they could start to circumvent walls and fly and do all sorts of things. Yeah.
Calstuff, you're dead on. So, and Anna played with Fensick before in the first fundraiser. Fensick 16th level, and the highest straight level mage PC in my game is Tim's character Fensick. We cap out like 13th, 14th, 15th really, but here. So Big Mac brought up a point as far as opposed schools and stuff. I want to just go there real quick. Second edition splits out everything. I'm not a fan of it. So I'm a fan of
splits out, meaning in what
sphere,
way?
Like invokers.
Oh, you mean the schools of magic? Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
I love that. That was when magic really became functional to me. So you haven't implemented the schools of magic fully, so to speak?
No,
Okay.
I haven't, because I
Yeah.
prefer back converting to a 1E class. So I have a necromancer class with a necromancer spell list. I don't have a necromancer sub magic user who can use some of the other spell spheres, but not evocation. No.
Yeah, I was good. That explains why you don't have an evoker, because that will be the kind of one of the most obvious specializations in wizard, meaning fireballs and
I have the fire elementalist instead.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
There you
and
go.
that is where you have the evoker. We have 6 different elementalists that really are combat.
But then
like
you
hardcore.
hyper specialize the elemental side of magic instead. So,
yes, which I love elemental magic. I love summoning elementals, Grus. I love selling ball lightnings and quasi elementals and Pecs and all sorts of other crazy stuff, which you can do as an elementalist, and that is that I like doing. Plus, there's spells that just don't fit, like there's smoke and salt.
Oh yeah,
which I've turned into para elementalist with Tim's help. crystal, all those we put in the
Yeah.
parasphere.
You can specialize, meaning you can have even if you play second or third edition or later editions, you can make hyper specialized. You can have a evoker that is an acid specialist, or you can have an evoker that is a earth or like a fire specialist or lightning specialist or something. So
Right.
So you can hyper specialize wizards, but then comes the other side of the coin. How much do you need to hamper them in order to maintain game balance?
It's easy. It's easy
okay.
to do. We can jump ahead. So for an elementalist,
sorry,
no, this is good. So I'm going to give you an example on the elementalist and how I do them. And I've shared a couple of these with people. I don't like sharing them all. I want people to create their own. So let's just go to the fire elementals because everyone loves fire. So you have your list. And notice there's handwritten spells in here because I'm constantly adding and changing and stuff. And those are the 9 levels of spells. Now, elementalists get pluses on their no spell for an elementalist spell, and they can cast 1 elemental spell 1 to 4 levels higher once per day. 1 spell, and they get a couple other abilities like better for summoning creatures, but they can't cast any other elementalist spell on any other elementalist lists, which means that a fire elementalist can't cast lightning bolt, can't cast cone of cold, can't cast
water or any of that.
Can't cast ice storm, can't cast you get the idea. Now they can cast, or they can't cast force spells. They can't cast our force ball spell. Now magic missile.
So
I've been arguing.
So is force a version, one element, so to speak?
It's
force?
not, but I was working on it.
Okay.
That's one I'm considering. I'm toying with it.
Yeah.
But
because it's interesting where you should place force in. I'm thinking about that too in D&D physics, meaning where you should put force in your
right. Well, Mike, I think this will apply to any. 5e elementals would be awesome, right?
Yeah.
I think it would apply to any. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Detect magic, they're going to be able to cast, right? Tensor's floating disc, they're going to be able to cast. I'm just throwing vocalize, mirror image, but they're not going to be able to cast fire trap. They're not going to be able to cast stone skin. They're not going to be, because it's all, so this is where you've limited them immediately so that they are really pigeonholed into their sphere of elements.
So you've done more than, meaning the second edition specialist, and it kind of tied over to third edition, if I remember correctly, that you simply had opposing schools that you picked, and you couldn't, you were kind of limited in the opposing schools, so you can kind of pick.
I hated
one opposing. Oh, you hated that?
I hated the opposing school issue, and the reason
I thought that was kind of cool. Okay, sorry.
And I know why, because I know why they did it, and they did it for elementalists too, because they didn't want to work up spell lists. They just wanted, right? So imagine if you only had 5 spells to cast, it would be kind of almost like a sorcerer. So
you have to. That's some of the spell in order to of the, and that's the problem with some of the specialist magic users, is that you need to develop more spells for them to be viable as player characters.
Exactly, and that is where you need to do your research. Like what Mike did, all the name spells in on his posts, that's gold, right? So Mike, if you want to link those articles you did for please put them in chat, because I'm working on them and incorporating them in and finding them right now as we speak.
Well, it was more of an alphabetical exercise, not some focus on schools of magic.
It wasn't, but those spells are spells that tend to not be in lists, and that's the great thing.
Right.
They tend to, like, for example, in order to fill these lists up on specialty classes, you have to have access to books beyond just your player's handbook, right? And that's where this comes in. We're jumping ahead.
I wanted to say real quick about opposing schools of magic. The one get that stack.
Go ahead.
I don't like the one that's opposed to enchantment. Was that necromancy?
Well, you could pick, I think, but it has to be. It can't be one of the. I think that.
No,
it's on. It was like on a wheel. So
Invoker, I think it's necromancy, isn't it?
Yeah, or something. So it's one of the.
Anyhow, I didn't like dumping, so to say, enchantment, because that's how you made your magic items.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and
But
that's a lot.
Yeah.
What doesn't make sense to the way they did it, and
Yeah,
who
but-
is not going to play an invoker? You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
that is where I'd rather have an elementalist or something cool and different than
But I think the
picking
idea
the
was
spheres.
they have what they call a universalist, meaning they had certain spells that were universal, like read magic and stuff like that, that everyone can do. So
Very
you can
few.
kind of enchant an item and stuff like that. You can make those universal, meaning that they are just basic magic and stuff like that.
So
But
true.
I like that the specialist of magic tied into the schools of magic. To me, that was kind of just a logical one of follow the other, so to speak. But it's a real tough choice to limit them in a creative way, because some of the specialists were really limited. You had to kind of scour Dragon magazines and also a lot of other books in order to find cool spells for them to use. Sorry, go on.
No, that is the challenge, and it's been ongoing for 20 some years. And you're absolutely correct, Anna. In order to make all these special subclasses work in my game, I want lists for all of them. I have Necromancer spell list, a Shadow Mage spell list, all the Elementalists.
Do you allow your character that plays wizards or even cleric to kind of research their own spells, and then you kind of
sure,
good,
absolutely. Absolutely, and I will share 2 of them tonight.
Cool. Yeah.
And I will. I got permission from Alan, who has 2. Sorry, I said this the other night. He's not very good on naming his characters. His character's name's Arathorn.
Mm-hmm.
I have
we all had weird ones from Tolkien back in the day. We had plenty of them in the early years. That was the only fantasy names we knew.
So Tino, there's all sorts of things, and once again, my way is not necessarily the right way, but do it however you want your players to enjoy the game. And if you want to change the opposing school and go with those schools or in 3rd edition or make some tweaks to it, that's great. It's perfectly the way to do it. I just know that I want a little bit of structure in my game where I want to be able to control this and know. Here's another thing for game balance. If you don't have spell lists, you don't know necessarily what's coming at you as a DM, right? I mean, so I know they have spell books and all that. They got to write them in, but the air of uncertainty is going away, and that's just what I wanted to talk about when adding new spells. You need to play test the spells you bring into your game.
You need to.
You have to play test them somehow, and if you're doing it if you're doing it without them knowing, like and the best way to do that is have some evil or baddies come in with them, or you have an NPC.
Well, I was thinking when you allow new spells and stuff, do you have like tables to say that a 5th level spell can do this much damage and stuff like that? So you have like guidelines so you know what level a certain spell should be or can do, meaning or saving throw wise and stuff like that. So if it allows a saving throw and then what kind of levels and if it doesn't allow a saving throw, will it be 2 level more difficult to cast or something like that? Do you have like guidelines and stuff for
it's like challenge rating. I don't use it, but I have a
you
feel. I'll give you an example, a true example of a spell that the level changed. So, all right, and here we go. I don't know who wrote this. Maybe Ed did. All right. Fire Elementalist, Agonizer Scorcher. Okay. It is in here, and it was first appeared for me in a Dragon magazine article. And that is the one where the flame comes out and then the mage can move and the flame moves with him. How many of you know? Yeah, Thunder, it's a great spell, right? Great spell. It's second level.
I know that is one that is like a flaming sphere that the wizard can kind of roll
flaming
around.
Sphere is terrible.
But it's
a different area effect.
What's that?
Yeah, it rolls. Yeah.
It rolls 10 feet. That's it.
Oh yeah.
It's so slow.
It's just something. Yeah, it's so slow. Like it's perfect when you have a corridor and then you're fleeing or whatever. So it's a spell that has its uses. And
so Agonizer Scorcher came into our game, and it was second level. And I'm like, Forgotten Realms, man, stuff's pumped up way too much. I'm like, no, it can't be second level. I made it 4th. It is very nasty spell, and we changed the level of that. And it's only 1 in about 100 that I change a spell level on. But we made Agonizer Scorcher 4th. That beam goes out. It hits for no save. 3 to 18.
And no to hit or anything. It's
No.
auto hit
So,
or
yeah, and then you run around.
wow.
Anything in that beam line that you cross does
Yeah.
2 to 8, 2 to 16.
So
for
you
2
don't need
rounds.
to aim. It's auto hit and
Yeah,
no save.
It is.
Damn, that is a powerful
no
spell.
saving throw.
That's a
yeah,
very,
but
very
it's not
powerful
second
spell.
level. So
No.
yeah.
That's like a laser version of Magic Missile that just goes straight through a
it's
bunch
gross.
of yeah.
That's too
That's
bad they
very-
stopped writing about D&D at their 90. But the good thing is that you don't need TSR WotC stuff, CalStaff, right? You don't need that. You can find great third-party
Oh,
spell
there are
stuff.
Tons of spells everywhere.
Tons. Now, I have purloined the 3rd edition a lot.
Yeah.
A ton
So you
of
back
stuff.
converted a bunch of spells from.
Yeah, I don't like
newer editions.
Scorching Rays 5th edition. I've used that before. Hey, George, good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for the resub. All right, so let's go back to the base mage. Start from the, we've gone all over here. The base mage. How do you improve it? There are some ways. Number 1, we have proficiencies now. And I think this has worked very, very well. And I'm going to go to page 2 of our proficiencies listing here. These are in lieu of weaponry. So, and we've lowered the mages get them at now 1, 5, 9 instead of 1, 7, 13, which is ridiculous. But we've also given them, if you notice at number 29, I have extra spell slot. Extra spell slot is an ability that they get 1 extra spell in the repertoire of numbers to cast, 1 level lower than the highest be able. So if they're 5th level, they get 4 first, 2 second, 1 third.
Or 1 per each.
No, that's what they get normally. 4, 2, 1 if they're 5th level mage. Now they can get 5, 2, 1 or 4, 3, 1. They get their choice. They get this free, and that's what the little tilde sign is. They get this free at 3rd level. So they order straight mage only, not a multi-class mage. Multi-class mage has to take it. So there you go. I've added 1 spell in. So think about this. They're 9th level. They can add a 4th or a 3rd or a 2nd or a 1st to their memorization. So there you go. One little easy thing. Use Rings of Speed. Yes, Thunder, that's another way to do it too. But I have a better way of doing it, Thunder, than that. Rings of Spell Storing anyone can use. That's a good one too. Great idea. Give them items that bonus up there. And I talk about this in Horror in the Hools. I have a couple items in Horror in the Hools that have done this. Give them, I'll link that. Give them items that give them bonus spell slots. So, for example, there's a robe of the necromancer in there. I think it's, but don't give them a great armor class. Base armor class 6, right? Like bracers, and I think they get a bonus 1st and or 2nd with it.
Yeah.
There you go. Add spell slots. That's another way of pumping them up early on. Add resistance reduction. Mike, what any things you'd like to do to pump up a mage when you're playing early on? Wands.
The only thing I've that seems to be the go-to thing in at least the 3E era. You could never leave home without a wand.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to think. Someone mentioned give them D6 hit dice. That's what 5th edition.
Oh yeah, I think
a
that's kind
possibility
of
too.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an obvious one because I don't see why they should be weaker physically than clerics and others, so to speak. So yeah. And in a way, I would like to see that the minimum hit points you have is your constitution score. So if you have 10 hit constitution score, you just have 10 hit points. And then you get more hit points as you level up.
Right.
That will beef up every 1st level, but at 5th level or 10th level, it wouldn't matter at all. It wouldn't change the game one bit. It just beefs up and put everybody at the same level to begin with, so to speak. And then you just get your constitution score and hit points at 1st level, and then you get class additions as you level up. That is something that I've started to use used before in Pathfinder and stuff, and it worked really well to beef it up and kind of made the level. So most of them had like between 10 and 15 hit points to start with.
So
I remember
go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned wands. I remember in 3rd edition that a lot of the crafting feats were tied to level. So like at 1st level, you could make potions and do scrolls, and then you get to certain other tiers, and I think the highest one was like magic rings for some reason. Wonder Signs, I think, was kind of low mid level. Just wizards being able to craft something small, like a wand or a potion, early on would definitely help.
Tie them into alchemy.
Yeah.
Notice that there's alchemy rules in the original Dungeon Master's Guide. That's another book. I have another gray book downstairs with just alchemy in it, because we have a maester which can do alchemy, and witches can do alchemy too. Hi.
But hello. But one of the things I liked from that came in is cantrips. I must say that I kind of like the idea of cantrips, that wizards can do some cool stuff, always, so to speak, that you can, and then it's always the question of how powerful should cantrips be, because in early on in the career, they're really kind of cool. And even if you can only do 1 point of fire damage or something, it's still a significant thing for a first level character, but they tend to become completely useless as you level up. That's why later editions of the game boosted the level of cantrips became more powerful as you leveled up. So there's ways you can kind of tweak that into, and various other offshoots have of the D&D rules have various versions of kind of expanding and power up the cantrips as you level up. But to me, that's a very appealing version to do, to have spells they can always use.
On my Thursday game, I'm playing a rogue / wizard, and the DM hates Mage Hand. And that's why I built my entire character around is that cantrip.
Yeah, but that is something that, and I've encountered that too. That's one of the things that you have to start thinking. You can, when you, how to word a spell properly, because what you can do, you can say that a mage hand can't have more than average dexterity or something like that, and then that will solve it, and you can't use it to open the weird locks, and you can't do all that stuff. You can only do normal stuff that normal people can do. You can't a top level, but on the other hand, you might want to have mage hand to be a cool way for thieves to be able to open the most,
and that is what the 5th edition rogue trick
and 5th edition have another stuff that we should talk about later, and that is the diversification of casters, meaning all of a sudden, but that's topic I think we could take it at the end, or we've gone through.
I don't, I'm going to go on a 5e gripe here. Why do they have stuff? Oh, I can do something every round. It drives me insane. The mage may not be able to, like, look what Ed did last night. Hey, he may not be able to do something every round, but this cantrip thing where I do 1 to 4 points of damage every round feels like playing World of Warcraft.
It's just like fighters and others can do it. They can wield their sword and do tons of damage every damn round.
Never tire out. Never tire out.
And meaning,
that's what wizards
and then
are
why
doing.
can't
You
wizards that are really good at magic just flicker off some tiny little thing, whatever, until they get tired? So there are good arguments for and against it. And it's also the play style, meaning you want to have old school where wizards were kind of exclusive, kind of off the beaten track a bit and so, and then skip the cantrips. But if you want a little bit more high power, that wizardry and stuff is normal. And if you take by the 5e rules, then wizardry and spell casting have become almost normal. Every other class can do it. There are all sorts of almost every class have some magical abilities. So
George, sorry I missed your question there. I have my son in here. No, I do not. I do not add that way. I'd rather add via item. I'm gonna say, and I saw. I think Mymore put in have them write scrolls. I tried that, and my guys abused the hell out of it. Well, I've been downtime for 4 months, so I'm gonna make 14 scrolls. No.
And I think there were officially published spells in Dragon or some 2e product that like copy spells.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing, meaning that there were rules. The 1st edition didn't have much rules. They had a few things how to put spells into your spell book and stuff, but later editions had it very explicit how much and how long time it took and stuff. But I think that you should have Scrolls, it's very easy to get rid of that problem. You simply make it take longer to cast spells on a scroll. You can't just fire up, meaning you have to bring up the scroll from whatever tube you have it and open it, should be one action. If you just do that, you've taken away most of the problem with scrolls. Then they can have a whole backpack full of scrolls and have scroll tubes everywhere, but it takes one action to unfold it, take it up and unwrap it and look at it, and then they can fire it off the next action. That I used that in Pathfinder, that simply you have to retrieve it, and that took an action. So you had to be ready.
But there's a present camp trip, isn't there, that you can just present it instantaneously, isn't there?
No, I never had that issue. Oh. No, I never had that problem.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't have players that were that didn't dig into it. So no, I just said that it takes an action to retrieve, just like it takes to change a weapon or something like that. So,
right. Yeah. And I don't want addition war, but I'll say that there, back in the day, a straight mage was tough to play. Now dual classing solved a lot of that. We have a ton of dual class mages in our game, from paladin mages to archer mage to fighter mage, ranger mage. That's multi, but we have duels all over the place. The humans, and we have multi classes: fighter, cleric, mage, fighter, mage, thief, cleric, mage. There's a ton of them.
Yeah.
Special things, you should limit the special abilities to non-multi-class.
Yeah. So in order to tweak the wizard, did you tweak around with the XP table? Because because the problem I saw, remember, with first edition old school wizards, but they were very unpowered at low level and very overpowered at high level, where they could start doing time stops and fly and teleport and all sorts of kind of rule bending spells and effects and stuff. So meaning in a way you wanted to the way I would like to tweak it would be to have wizards going very rapidly up to like 5th level or so, and then start easing off, and it will be very hard and take a long time to go from 10th to 11th to 12th, and then make it almost okay.
They go up, but from 6th to 9th they go up very quick. There's an anomaly in the table where
that should be the opposite, so to speak. They should go from 1st to 5th, basically the most rapid of any class, and then it should level off, and they should be the most difficult one after like 8th level or something. They should kind of be tough.
So, Bill makes a good point. Thank you, Bill the Master Crafter. Bill Mace made a wonderful point. So there are unwieldy, super powerful spells for mages at 1st level, in particular sleep. Now, the funny thing last night was, I thought for sure Tony was going to sleep all the goblins and wargs, not wargs, wolves, because that would have been a perfect spot to sleep them. She held off and went tried to sleep an owlbear, which didn't work. And then there was no way she was going to sleep undead with it, So the sleep spell can get, I believe, goblins up to 16 of them, which is a crazy amount with it. So now 5e, I do miss sleep, Derek. I didn't realize that it wasn't in the game, or is it just less power?
But one of the and that also ties into one of the problems with spells and with saving throws in old school, because saving throws were absolute, meaning you had a saving throw. Each character and monster and stuff had a saving throw, and no matter how powerful and tough you were as a wizard, you either saved or you didn't save. That was equally, meaning you had like 15 and higher than you saved, no matter if it was the most powerful wizard ever casting the spell or it was a complete newbie. You had, meaning that is something I loved when they introduced in 3rd edition, meaning it was like a war between attack and defense. So if you have if you were a real powerful wizard, you can hone in those spells and go nasty like crazy.
Right.
But if the defense were if they were really powerful, that means that there was a lot of like save or die spells and save or falling asleep.
Sleep had no save.
Exactly. Some of them didn't even have a save, which is kind of weird. But there was a lot of save or die or all or nothing kind of effects.
But you got to remember this, Anna. 3rd edition, because of that scaling up, became the min-max race.
Exactly. Yes.
And
I totally agree. But meaning I love those rules, but I don't love how most people use them. So
exactly. Yeah. And that's I have no problem with the way the rules are set for us, and with saving throws and all. And there's a chance that you're going to get, It's going to happen occasionally. You're going to fail a save and you're going to die from something, or you're going to take a
Yeah.
lot of damage from a fireball. If you fail your save, you don't take half damage. I mean, it's part of the game.
Yeah,
You know?
that is a good one. That you take half damage, and that's something that's stuck
Good
with
save.
every edition that I know of. That you save and take half damage, or not save and take full damage. That is something that first edition that got right from the start. I think that been with the game ever since.
Yep. And you're right. You're right there, Galger. So, for example, the base mage was weak at the beginning. That doesn't mean you couldn't help it out. I mean, the hit point idea is a good one. I think we solved that with allowing the multi-class option or the dual class
Yeah.
option. But there are things you can tweak in your game. You can. I like adding spell capable abilities, and I like adding a lot of items that give them better armor classes, like robes of protection. You know, your base bracers, rings of protection, and giving them items. And I've gotten away from rechargeable items. I still use like wands and magic missiles and all. I prefer using rings and wands or once per day actions. So, for example, I may give out a wand of shadow bolts, which does one shadow bolt per day, and that's it, right? Almost like a spell like effect increase. But I don't like them running around with 10 scrolls. I just don't I just because if you allow it once, the abuse level, you know this, it's the exploit. It's like a PC game. If someone finds the exploit, they all use the exploit, and then it gets out of hand, and it's just a balancing act over 40 years.
Yeah, and that's one of the general rules, is that you have to be able to talk to your players and change things if they don't work out. It's really hard to tweak house rules and to tweak things, and especially from my experience, min-maxers, because if you have min-maxers, it's almost, yeah, it's kind of, they are really hard to tweak. If you want to tweak them, that takes away the fun, because they see it as a game that you want to win and you want to be good at, so to speak. So if you take away their pluses and their kind of real cool effects, and I get angry too if my characters get nerfed, so to speak. But you have to sometimes kind of, yeah, it can be tricky. Yeah.
That actually got me. I don't know what Vancian is. I thought I knew every.
Well, Vancian is the magic system that D&D
I didn't know it was
based
called
on.
that.
It's called Vancian. Yeah, Jack Vance wrote a novel that Gary used as an influence.
You just taught me something. I did not know that.
Yeah, Gary and maybe Dave Arneson. I forgot which one. I think it was Gary, but I might be wrong. Someone in chat that knows this better than me can correct me on that one. But Jack Vance, he wrote a bunch of fantasy novels. They're listed in the Appendix N in the DMG, the first edition DMG, and they used the idea of memorizing spells, and then when you cast them, they disappear from memory, etc., and spell levels and stuff like that. That was Jack Vance. So that's why the D&D magic system is called the Vancian system.
Well, thank you for that education.
Or mana or any of that other games have started to use afterwards, so to speak.
Anagram vector.
Yeah.
That makes sense now. I didn't know that either, Mike. My gosh. See, I did not know that at all. Wow. There's spell points. A lot of people go to spell points, especially with newer players, which is okay.
And that is a sidestep from the Vancian system.
Yeah, so you can cast like 4 first level spells out of your book, you know, whatever you cast magic. But then it turns into an evoker, where they're casting almost a sorcerer, where they can boom, 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 boom. I prefer role play aspects. I prefer them to think about their mages and use some unique spells. That's what I like, and yeah. And that's kind of cool with what Ed was doing last night with his Grey Hawk Mage. He was thinking about ahead of time what spells. So, but there's also, like you said, there's options for you.
And I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't read the Jack Vance novels myself, but I wouldn't be surprised if the low-powered at low level, high-powered at the high level is something that comes from Jack Vance books, and that idea that wizard starts out as feeble characters and then grow in stature and effect, so to speak. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes from that, because that seems to be a recurring theme in early D&D, that magic users should be very frail. And there are other systems. There are other systems. I was thinking one of the offshoots of old school. I will come to it later, but there you have effects that a wizard start having things like thorns and losing body limbs and get witless and whatnot when you cast magic. It's not cast on Crusades. It's the CCC.
There's DCC Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, DCC wizards go bonkers. Meaning you can cast more spells and you can do more stuff with your wizard. I played it a few times and it's kind of fun.
Sounds
But
like
then,
Warhammer Fantasy,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
if you push it,
you can push it, then you start getting all sorts of permanent effects
things
and
get warped,
Mhm.
demons
Yep.
show up, and
you get all sorts of weird things, and you lose your charisma, and then you start getting
mutation.
Exactly. Yep. So they have that effect, and
Yep. Tim's trying to bring in a fumble and critical hit table manias, and I just don't want to bog the game down. I'm going to give you an example too, Tino Monkey. Ed Greenwood, okay, the creator of Forgotten Realms and Elminster and all this, doesn't like being bothered with spell components, as we saw last night.
Yeah,
he wants to cast his spells. So for me to tell them, oh, you got this, and this is minutia. I don't want to get into the minutia of a game. It's just too much. Some people like to do that. I don't.
I love spell components that has a campaign building, meaning that some spells should be really hard. Meaning if you want to cast a wish, then you have to have a diamond that is worth so much and other things. Meaning you should have certain spells and I don't use it for meaning mundane items. I just say that no problem. But material components that are listed specifically that has a monetary value and they could be hard to find. And that is something to control, not for the everyday flash and bang spells, but for ritual things and stuff.
Issue.
Yeah.
Now I'm all for having to pay for resurrections and wish spells and things, but on the flip side of it, what's the fighter have to pay for? Once he has his plate armor, he's pretty much set for life.
Yeah.
But that armor should get damaged.
Yes. Yep.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
they should have to be replacing shields. And
upkeep. There's I agree.
Yeah, that's something that PF2 has.
Only
the shields
wizard
have a certain amount of hit points, and when they
components
break.
and things.
Yeah,
there are ways of draining the money from any player character with with guild memberships, and you can say this is your upkeep weekly for food and for lodging, and boom, 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 and that money gets sucked right out. I mean, there's ways of doing that.
I don't give my players much money, and I don't give them much levels either. So I'm tough. Depends. Sometimes they get a lot of money, but they really have to work hard for them. So
you can get as detailed as you want into any game system. The question is, once again, the balance. Where does it become tedious or not fun for your players anymore? And that's where you have to have that line. I know what my line is.
Yeah.
God, Mike.
I can remember the last time me and my friends did spell memorization. If it's on your list, we just keep track of slots. It's on your list.
So you cast, now I cast 1 second level spell, and then
it's all spontaneous.
Yeah, that is interesting, because that was one of the options that came with 3rd edition that made the wizards slightly more sorceress in their abilities, so to speak. I kind of like that to some degree. And the thing is that you don't want to make them too sorcery, I guess, because then you take away the idea with the sorcerer. But I kind of like that idea too, that you have certain.
Then that must be why nobody played a sorcerer in my campaign.
Yeah, because that's
someone's coming in. Okay. Sorcerers are.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Tim the Enchanter.
Oh.
Wow.
He's not saying anything. He's just staring.
Okay. Yeah, then Jay, I need to ask you, do you have sorcerers in your game?
No.
You don't have sorcerers. No. Okay. Yep.
No.
Because that's a variant of the mage in a way.
What does Tim the Enchanter think of its sorcerers?
We might have them now.
You mean okay. You mean in your barbarian game?
It was possible to happen. It didn't happen.
Yeah. I really like the idea of sorcerers, that some people have magic in simply by talent, and some have to study to do it. I kind of like that discretion one way or the other. It's kind of cool, and especially meaning I saw some elves, like wild elves and sylvan elves and stuff. I saw them as natural sorcerers, meaning they just had some races and stuff could just have it, and I also saw it as barbarians can have them as shamans. I saw that sorcerer will be kind of, and also things like goblin humanoids and stuff, meaning
gosh.
1 in a 500 orcs or goblins or something have a little bit of magic talent and can cast a few spells and stuff. So
it shows up as proto magic user. It's early and more primitive, so they have a lot less power. It's highest level spells are 4th level, at least the version that I saw.
Okay, yeah.
So
I never wanted to go there. I'm like, no.
I like it. I really do. And in a way that
I think it was 3rd edition. I don't want
well,
someone.
It was articles for sorcerer spontaneous caster in for 2nd edition too. There were several examples, but
it's rinse and repeat, and that's what I mean. It's like, why do I want a character to cast magic missile 5 times?
Because if you're going to
Because
battle,
it's
that's
cool.
the kind of that's the perfect character. You focus on a few spells and you can do them like crazy. Yeah.
And then the warlock came out for those who thought sorcerers were
exactly.
Hard to play.
Yeah, and in 5e you simply have you have eldritch fighters and stuff that you can simply combine.
It's like psionics. It's the same stuff over and over. I don't want repeaters.
I'm
not a repeater.
The sorcerer version, again, was from Footprints magazine. They don't have, it's not like they can cast not a whole ton of times, it's basically, if they got 3 1st level spells, they get to pick which one of the 3 1st level spells they use.
So right. This is different than the 3rd edition sorcerer.
Right. So I actually made one of those for one of my friends' games and my army buddies, and he was fun. He was flinging things everywhere. But the one in Footprints is kind of a good balance. It's like flexibility, but they are quite limited compared to a full magician.
I'm gonna give you an example of what I loved the last night. And it wasn't even a wizard. It was Eric Boyd, and he took Cure Light Wounds off of his list, and he put on that lesser Glyph of Heronius. And he put it right on the step going up into that fight, and the direwolf, the wolf, and the goblin came right up, went right through it, because you're not going to see it. Boom, did major damage to it. I'm like, that is a great use of a spell.
Mm-hmm.
I like that stuff. I don't want to. Magic missile, lightning bolt, magic missile, fireball.
It's like setting out the claymores for your security force.
Exactly, and that's what I want. I want some thought, and that's why I love the Greyhawk Mage.
But that's why you want to have cool, nifty spells, so to speak. You want to have more spells and diversify spells. So that's something that if you want to run a rich campaign, I advise you, especially 2nd and 3rd edition, have tons of spells. 5th edition is still too new, so they don't have that many spells. But if you want to dive in, 2nd and 3rd edition have tons of spells, and you can kind of convert them and tweak them a little bit and give them cool names and introduce them in your campaign. So I think that's something you can go for inspiration, so to speak.
Now, Greyhawk Bard brings up a great point on this discussion. Everyone, he goes, what if none of the fighters can hit the monsters because they have no magic weapons? Okay, remember what happened last night? And then he put magic missile comes in handy. No, it didn't. Mm-hmm. It didn't.
No, because some things can't be hit with magic missile either.
So what happened last night, Greyhawk Bard, was the final fight had this Fusca. She had become a Juju zombie. They are half damage from fire, no damage from. Yeah, you like that, Tim? So
I like Juju zombies.
Yes.
I would not have
immune to magic missiles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
would not have that any corporeal creature with a body is not completely immune. You will do at least 1 point of damage, even if you have a non-magical weapon, whatever, unless it's like a construct of
No.
titanium or something exceptional like that. But if you have a biological body, so to speak, you will take at least 1 point of damage. When it comes to incorporeal, like ghosts and stuff, that's a different thing. Then I can have them that you don't take your weapon is completely ineffectual unless it has some sort of special. But undeads or something that has some sort of normal body, so to speak, that is decaying, or other biological creatures, they're not, even if there was a lot of things, and especially first edition say, oh, just immune from that attack at all. That no, I don't like that at all. If you have a body and some comes running with a thing that can break a brick wall, then yeah, that's too much D&D physics for me. So I will give them 1 or 2 points of damage.
You're putting real life physics into a fantasy game setting again.
Exactly.
Anna.
Yeah,
Well,
because
not
I don't
necessarily.
I
Because
don't want
a
to.
tank doesn't take damage from small arms fire.
Yeah.
So
That's real
it's
life.
immune to small arms fire.
I understand. We're talking magic here.
Yeah. So I want to, but I want to kind of have a little bit of rhyme and reason.
I understand that, but what I liked was Eric Menge's Halfling Talbot figured it out.
Oh yeah.
And switched to his the magic dagger, the only magic weapon the party had to start, and the half ogre who was holding the goblin's hand axe tried it and risked that it was magic or not, and used it, and that worked too. And that's what the solution was. You always give a solution. But
and in a way, I think when you say it like, oh, you do no damage, then you will make the players think. If you simply say, oh yeah, you just, oh, go on, yeah, you hit, and you just say it, you don't say it, and the damn thing just stays on and on and on. So in a way, I'm sneakier that way, because it takes a long time for the players to figure out, oh, damn thing should be dead by now, and stuff like a vampire or something that is damn tough to kill and has a lot of resistance. So sometimes not telling the players that they only do 1 point of damage, and just go on, okay, you do 6 points of damage, so just go on and simply ignore the fact to 90%. Yeah.
Was it really mean, Cannibal? Come on, it wasn't mean baiting Ed like that. Because that was the only thing he could have done. If he threw, once again, you don't throw flasks of oil into melee combat, just like you don't shoot into melee combat. I thought it was funny. So sometimes you got to run.
You don't like your buddies.
Yeah. So, all right. Tim, give me an enhancement, just one off the top of your head, because we already talked about this, for a base magic user that you would do in your, one that we agree upon that you would do in your game. Straight mage. Just anything.
The additional spell slot?
There you go. There's one.
There's one, yeah.
There's one. Do you use that?
Yeah.
There you go. How about do you like dual classing your mages?
Yes.
I knew it. Yes, okay.
That's how Sir Reginald survived that last bout with that monster, with everybody beating on him.
Yep. Definitely.
How do you feel about meta magic? I know in 3rd edition there was meta magic feats.
Yes,
it's a good point.
That was a huge thing. Yeah,
it's a good point. We have limited. I'm going to show you here. Here's in our proficiency list. By the way, this proficiency list.
I'm not even sure what you mean when you say that.
Certain feats that affect spells. Okay, so we have added some of them. Yeah, I know Ashur likes it because he's a 3E guy. So we have the following. We have the extra spell slot kind of one. Battle touch is one. So that when you're doing ranged touch spells or touch spells, you get +2 to hit with it. That's another meta feat. So if you have a spectral hand or something, that adds to it. Resistance reduction lowers the magic resistance of targets. All right. We also have Tim has kind of changed spell extension, where it increases your duration. We also have 1 or 2 that may, in special circumstances, extend the area effect. That's another one.
Yeah.
Or one that exchanges the range. Say you need 100 feet to hit and you're out of range, but you can extend your range to hit for like 50% to 150. Those are meta effects.
Oh yeah.
Mike, were you thinking of something different?
No, no,
Did
that
those? Yeah.
was the meta is that's
Yeah.
3rd edition Pathfinder.
Yeah, we've incorporated
in
them
some
back into
degree,
our system.
5e still have, I think has it.
Yeah,
And it's kind of cool if you
yeah.
want to, instead of specializing to a certain type of magic, you can kind of expand your range or something of your spells. So, but it's in some ways it was kind of tricky. One of the things they did in 3rd edition was that they made you had to cast the spells at a higher level, which to me was too limiting. So that was
Never
too.
liked it.
Yeah, exactly. I never liked that bit too. And the other weird thing was that for sorcerers, they took longer to cast the damn spell if you did it, and that was also too limiting. I think that if you spend a lot of effort, meaning a feat was a major investment in your character, if you spend that, you should get that to use it without the leveling up the spells, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when the sorcerer that can just whip out spells like pew pew pew, it's almost like if they're like comic book character superheroes at that point.
Yeah, but on the other hand, sword fighters and rogues and a bunch of others, they can do enormous kind of feats of whatever in their speciality.
Yeah.
And so I think that sorcerers can only do that and nothing else. They're very limited and they only know a few little spells, but they can kind of use and they can't cast more per round than a wizard can. It's only that they can cast the same thing 6 times over rather than and they can cast it more slots, so to speak, but they have very few things they can. So they sacrifice their versatility for effect, so to speak. And I think that's a reasonable, cool version to do.
Once again, here's all the magic user custom rules for all my spellcasters and how many binders are here. And these aren't all of them. There's 5. And the meta magic thing is good in a limited capacity. I like the direction we've gone in that. I don't like the spell level changing or enhancing it.
No, that's
missiles.
too.
I don't like that.
You heightened spells. But
I hate
that's interesting.
Yeah,
but that is interesting.
Well, it's like wild magic a little bit in some ways, right? Or every so often, but it's random. It's not like guaranteed every.
Yeah. But I like the idea that they introduced in 3rd edition and made both 4th and 5th edition, and Pathfinder has it, and I think several other derivatives of the D&D system have it, that you can simply say that instead of casting a magic missile as a 1st level, you can cast it as a 3rd or 5th level, and you get more missiles. Or they do more damage. I think that's cool. I think that's
too much to keep track of.
Why do you need to keep track of it?
Because
you just take it off, just like.
Why would you cast a magic missile? I'm sorry, Anna. Why would you cast it at 5th level when you can cast a cone of cold, or you can cast?
Because sometimes you need a magic missile that do more damage and not a cone of cold.
Oh my
I
gosh!
have not overcharged a 5th edition spell yet.
Yeah.
It
drives.
It's for the low level spells that you can do.
Lazy.
High level spells are normally.
I want creativity. I don't want magic missile being the go-to spell at every spell level. I can't stand
creativity.
Yeah.
Yes.
I read an article recently, and I wish I had saved it. I could have posted it. One of my friends pointed out to me, it was ways to make D&D better, and one of them was allowing spells that are caster only to be touch spells on others. So I don't have a specific example, but that's
Fire Shield would be one like that, right?
Right. Why shouldn't you be able to put it on someone else?
Yeah.
Seems reasonable to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's certain spells.
That's more dangerous. That is so dangerous.
You do not want to be putting on other characters. Fire Shield is the number 1 spell that is so imbalancing. You put that on a Cavalier in my game or a fighter. Imagine putting that on a dragon. Fire
dragons
shield.
can cast their own magic. They can cast it on themselves.
All right. That's a bad example. Put that on.
Yeah.
Put that on. Who knows? Put that on an Umber Hulk.
Yeah.
Is Stone Skin caster only?
Yes.
This?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are all things that help
like
the magician be more survivable, frankly.
Yeah. But that to me means that if the spell is so damaging that it will kind of break the rules that much and make the game ruin, that then the spell is overpowered as it is.
Well, I just say the spell comes from the inner power of the magician. So That's why it can't be on someone else, because it's constantly being sustained by their internal energies, and that's
But there's
why it
already a
can't be-
workaround for it. You mentioned it earlier, rings of spell storing. So you give them, your fighter ring of spell storing, quick fire shield on it, boom.
Yeah, give them a
But
ring of
that-
spell storing. If the DM gives that out, then they're
you
stupid.
find them.
If I give out a ring of spell storing with a fire shield on it, I'm
but
asking for trouble as a DM, right?
Yeah, but also can fighters use magic items like that?
Yeah,
Don't
rings
you
of spell
need to
storing
be
anyone can use.
okay?
Yeah.
Wow, I never
Oh,
thought that.
yeah.
I thought that was obviously a magic item for wizards
Maybe in
and
old
sorcerers.
school they can, but I don't know about
Yeah.
newer. Yeah,
No,
And
in third
they can
edition
also
and
use a wand
Pathfinder
like
stuff I
this.
played. Yeah, you would never be able to.
certain
rogues.
ones.
Yeah, rogues can learn and use skills in order to figure it out, so to speak, and pick feats
Exactly,
in order
Amy.
to.
Don't hand
about-
out stuff you don't want used against you.
Killing
Fighters,
spells for
fighters can use this wand. It's a wand of nail prying.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it was interesting because protection ones, if I remember correctly, in first edition, everyone can use, but other ones only wizards can use, and rogues or like thieves, if they rolled had high enough on their skill to use them once.
So I'm not. I don't want you all to think that I am. You got to understand. It's not like I've been playing with these guys for 6 months. It's 41 years.
Yeah.
It's 41 years of Tim. It's 41 years of Alan abusing whatever. All right. So
Thinking creatively out of the box.
Yes,
Let's
exactly.
be fair.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'll give you an example of a magic item. I had that stupid arrow of direction, and Alan's character threw it up in the air for questions about 100 times one adventure, until he threw it up the 101st time and it landed on a rock and it split in half, and it was gone.
Well, you should
forever.
have just said it only works twice a day.
I didn't think this is like 1990,
Yeah.
so I broke it. It broke,
Yeah.
and that was the end of it. Or the speaking to the rod. What's the rod that you have to tell the truth if you talk into it? Whatever the one that is, go on, right? Because I know what happens. It's 41 years of this, so it's all balance. It's all game
I
balance.
think that was one of the good things with changing edition is that all of a sudden you had
Yes, that's
new
it.
issues, and it took a while for the players to learn
Thank
and
you.
stuff. So yeah.
I'm
so I
very
think that
gifted. I'm a very gifted learner when it comes to exploiting
Tell me
rules.
about- yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But that's the min-maxing type of player, so to speak.
Not
and-
Not stat
necessarily.
min-maxing.
No,
it's,
but-
it's
No,
take-
but it's
yeah.
but to use the rules and
Yeah.
to your advantage, that is kind of the basic idea of min-maxing, so to speak. You always try to use the rules to give you an advantage
Well-
and give the enemy or the opponent a
Just-
disadvantage. It's
Cleverly using
yeah,
spells.
yeah,
Not
and also
the rules,
other
just-
things, yeah. But those are part of the rules, so to speak, and that's a fair bit of the game. But it's a problem if that becomes the main part of the game.
Right.
Then to me, then it's a problem when you try to read like, oh, that's the wording, and like you start reading the spells and
Yeah,
other
I
rules
like-
like you will be a lawyer arguing in court.
Greyhawk,
so to
real
speak.
quick. Tim and I have been playing
Yeah.
together for 41 years. Just put
Yeah.
that in perspective.
Mhm.
How long that I've known this man?
Yeah, but it's
That's insane
It's
when you
tough.
think about it.
It's cool. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
and so play test the crap out of anything you add.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt that.
No, but
whatever.
I think it's that's a really fair and needs to be addressed. And there you can either sit down and you discuss it and you sort it out, meaning how do we interpret this rule or this spell or something, and then you tweak it and say, okay, this is how you do it, and you read sage advice and or others and see how they've done it. But you can also be sneaky as a DM and do it in game thing, meaning you can introduce rules the players aren't aware of, and the characters aren't aware of to begin with, meaning
Yeah.
you can have powerful wizards and powerful monsters and stuff can kind of detect magic being
Right.
cast at a certain distance and stuff like
I
that. Yeah.
I have an example of something I did. It was in the city state. I introduced the different proficiency thaumaturgic geometry, where
Mhm.
you can now fold your spells in different directions. So I had a very unusual wall of fire that was folded back and forth on itself. So when Dervilli ran through it, she actually ran through 4 of them.
Mhm.
Because it was folded
It's in
back and
there.
forth like a
Yeah.
really tight zigzag. So that was that's like a thing where you
Yeah, it's
It's-
like
You
in
never
third
thought of it
edition they have
before.
spell shape feats and stuff, so you
Right.
can kind of meld you
Yeah.
can exclude one area in a fireball, for instance, so you didn't have to cover the whole thing. You can kind of meld it or bring it into shape it certainly, so you can only affect certain part of a room, but not that part where your player your
Oh, I
friends in
like the
party.
blowback so much from fireballs. I'll never let that happen.
Yeah.
No, but there's it's like you have
Sculpting
yeah,
is
but
too
it's
much.
cool. Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
a version of it that you can kind of
Yeah.
tweak.
I would make a fireball that's flexible, like at a high level,
Mhm.
high level magic that lets you change its shape a little bit more,
Yeah.
or safety fire, like say the safety fireball where it's there's limits of its explosion so it doesn't blow back on you.
Yeah.
But
But
if
I
it's
see
too
that
easy to change it, then that just
Leads to abuse. You know that.
yeah, but
well,
it's
no,
part
it
of
leads
part
to a
of
lot more
magic.
complexity that
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask a question. I want someone out there to tell me of a mage they have in 5th edition that casts fireball and doesn't sculpt.
I don't even know if you
Zero.
can do it in five edition.
Yeah,
fifth
that's what it's
edition.
for. It's for 5th edition sculpting
Well,
spells.
Oh, you had it in
sculptors.
third edition. I wasn't
Yeah,
even
I'm
aware
just
of the
saying,
fact that you have it in
Who
fifth
in their right
edition.
mind's not going to take that? Right?
Well, it
Yeah,
depends.
exactly. Every
you-
single one of them is going to take that, and
not
that's
think it
necessarily.
should-
Not necessarily, because
My
you
third
can.
edition can't. It's
What
so
if you can?
ridiculous.
Yeah. What if you can do something that makes you do 50% more damage, or you can cover 4 times or twice as much area? That might be more useful than sculpting.
right.
I want to say it was
More
an
often.
Archmage Prestige class in third edition because my high level players who did straight
It's
mages
good
were
to hear that
doing
you haven't
they
taken.
were doing fireballs that they could basically grid out all their allies.
Yeah.
And they could change the fire. Oh, we're fighting a Balor. Well, let's
Mhm.
change the fire to cold.
I would never let them
Yeah.
measure. I would have them tell me how many
Yeah.
feet without looking, how many feet, what's the size of it, and
Yeah.
make them eyeball it
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
measuring, just because
All right.
they're not measuring it. It's different than they're not registering artillery.
My
it's just
bad.
they're winging it.
Getting off.
So tell me how you're
Yeah.
winging it, and then I'll mark it out after they verbally tell me how many feet, what's the area, what's the size of the area you're sculpting out. Okay, and then because if they can measure it on a piece of paper, and that's not happening in combat. If they measure, you want to measure it? All right, it's going to take you 4 melee rounds to cast that spell, but you get it exactly where you want it. That's fair.
So let's we'll get away from this. I don't want to beat up 5e. Okay.
No,
Just
no.
note this.
Yeah.
I like the randomness of. It's just like last night. Throwing flaming oil into melee combat, you're going to burn your friend. It's that simple, right? Just some common sense. Yeah. I had to do a show. Exactly. I had to do a show on magic users. All right. So let's.
Well, that's why you cast resist fire on them, and then you throw it on all of them, and then only the bad guys get burned.
Resist fire is a clerical spell.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing a scenario out there where you would do it, and it makes sense.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Magic missile. No, magic missile automatically hits. So you don't have to worry about it. And that was the whole
I
point.
like
That's why I baited Ed into doing it.
Yeah, and Calstaff has a really good point. Theater of Mind stops all of that metagame thinking, and not all of it, but a lot of it. Yes, and I remember because we did a lot more theater of the mind, and that was when a lot of that kind of you're 20 feet away, you're 15 feet away in that area. A lot of that kind of never happened. Yeah. And so there's a lot of positives from playing with miniatures, and you let it go a lot of cool effects and a lot of advantages. But one of the disadvantages that you let it go of a metagaming where you can measure things and you can see it properly. The same goes with modern day virtual tabletops and stuff that they get the same problems with metagaming and measuring and all that stuff. So yeah.
I say to use the skill, they have to take more time, and that's fair. Because then go ahead, measure to your heart's content. It just there's a cost in doing it. I think is okay. I also like adding. Well, fighters got to roll, and with crits and fumbles being such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I like making the mages roll.
Oh yes, I think so too. I think, and
so,
that's something
they can
that
fumble.
yeah, and that's something that came with later editions. That was a lot more to hit spells and stuff from third and onwards. In more and more spells came with it to hit, and and PF2 brought that to meaning wizards can fumble and critical success and stuff on almost all their damage dealing spells, except magic missiles was one of the few
Well, I mean,
exceptions.
I
but
will.
almost
I have
everything.
it where casting you could fumble it. So you're trying to do an,
Yeah.
an innocuous casting and then you
Mhm.
blow it.
Yep.
Something,
Yeah, I think
minor can
that's
happen,
cool.
or
Yep, I think that's cool, and that should be more common, so to speak. And yeah,
if you roll a natural 20 casting it, then
Mhm.
maybe it goes off. You
Yeah.
know, a
Put
level
your
or
hand
two
out
higher.
like this.
yeah. Mhm.
I won't use crits or fumbles on spells because you know why?
Right.
All my other friends don't want to do it. Right, Tim? None of them.
Well, if you have an advanced table and stuff, it takes then you need to have like simple rules for it, like you do have 50% more damage or 50%
I've been
less
told.
or something
I've been
like
told
that.
I would get beaten with soap if I brought them in. So.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay. Well,
but-
then, yeah.
So.
Who said that? No, that was Alan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, not
But it's
going
interesting.
there.
Yeah, but that's interesting because a lot of the later editions of the game and derivatives have gotten that route, and it makes spell casting way more interesting, and the magic users
And-
way more interesting.
And then the
Yeah.
bad guys got to do it too.
Oh yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And that also means that they are unpredictable, meaning when you meet someone who can cast spells, you not really know how dangerous they are. They can get a good shot in and be very lethal, or they can miss and fumble and stuff. So a little bit more unpredictability there is fun, I think, for games. Yeah.
Well, it brings the magic user down from their pedestal
Mm-hmm.
of, oh, they're too powerful. Because
Yep.
a lot of these extra things everyone else does is to give them something extra because all the magic using kind of things are really great.
And also that goes with the same thing as having saving throws not being absolute or simple, meaning that if a real powerful wizard comes along, even the most powerful creatures, their saves starting to be they don't save automatically regardless, so to speak. And low level characters have a little bit more chance to they're not automatically fail because their saves are so low. So when they meet another low, so you can kind of, and when you meet a powerful enemy, you really have to worry, so to speak. And especially if you meet a specialist, they can kind of nail you real good.
We're in the theoretical a lot here.
Oh,
I want
yeah,
to get into
yeah,
substantive for a little bit.
Okay.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, spells, where you can find spells beyond Player's Handbooks and the Untitled Arcana and the Player's Handbook 2nd edition, and then there's let me do 2nd and 3rd edition. First thing, which we talked about with Zeb Cook last week, is the Tome of Magic, right?
Mhm.
Great book. The Wild Mage is in here, and the base rules for Elementalists, and if you want to do all the spheres and the Thaumaturgist, it's all in this book. Good book, lots of good spells in here. First place. Second place, Player's Options, Spells, and Magic. Another real good one. This is a must if you do Specialty Priests. Absolute must, because if you're going to do and create Specialty Priest lists, look, it's falling apart so
What's
bad.
it called, Jay? What's the name of that book?
Player's Options, Spells, and Magic.
Mhm.
All right, that's an absolute must. It's got some good spells in here, some
Oh, I had that
noted
book
spells.
somewhere.
This is also, I think, where Repair Injury and comes from, and some other spells we've adapted
Mm.
is in this book. All right, let's go to what I love about Forgotten Realms. Here are some
I don't
great
have that
references.
book. Will you-
What's that?
I thought I don't have that book.
How do you not have that book? Really?
No, that you just said everything everything I loved about Forgotten Realms like it was a book title.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Oh,
no, I
sorry.
don't have that.
No,
Well,
it's not. Yeah.
Complete Wizard's Handbook, decent. Okay,
Mhm.
not great, but decent. Anna has put, and this is up now. The Complete Book of Necromancers is
Oh
fantastic.
yeah, that is fantastic.
One
But
of the
it's
best
more of a.
ones.
Originally, it was meant for DMs to run necromancers, not for player characters.
Calstat, the Wizard Spell Compendiums are great, but there are thousands of spells in them. So I'm doing
Yeah.
this in little pieces. Every single spell that's published everywhere is in those books. So, and
Yeah,
plus,
and now
if you want
comes-
to find them, they're almost impossible to get.
Yeah. So that comes the question: when a player when they level up their wizard, can they pick any spell and just add it to their spell book,
No.
or do you have to literally go out and find a copy or a scroll or something in the world, so to speak? Or
So
how do
we
you
have
rule
the
that?
library rule, and this is what
Mhm.
happens. It's a great question, Anna. Normally, the rules are very vague on how you get spells. They really
Yeah,
are.
exactly. There are a lot of
Yeah.
the rules simply say you can add 4 spells to a spell book. Period. That's in a lot of editions. I think that's the only rule that is there. So yeah.
So we have it that you get one spell So I haven't. And the question is, I've gotten a lot of stuff to look at from a lot of people. I've been so overwhelmed lately with stuff
Yeah.
going on. Libraries, guilds. If you join a guild in a major city, or you join a guild in my game, then you get 2 spells when you go up, and you can do research on them. You take
Yep.
them from whatever the base spell lists are, whether it's your Unearthed Arcana spell list and ours, with an addendum spell list of spells that exist in that guild, right? And we have them. Altamir, we have that. Thanks, Dwayne. And then they can roll their no spell percent to learn that spell and add it into their spell book.
Yep.
Usually it's 2. Some adventures you get bonus spells. Some you get books that give you bonus spells. You get scrolls. You can write scrolls in at your no spell percentage. That's how your spell list increases in my game.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
and normally how I do it, when you first level, I just let them pick from, at least from the player's handbook, the spells they want from, and then both wizards and clerics and stuff, they have to learn or pick up or acquire the knowledge of spells up. So that's something they need to do while they're gaming, so to speak. They need to, friendly other wizards can teach them a spell, or they can copy it from their spell book, so they can purchase a scroll, or they can capture the scroll or a spell book from an enemy or something like that in order to gain the spell. But they will not gain it automatically just because they level up. And that's something they should do before they level up. They should kind of research, or they can join a guild and then pay in order to have a spell copied into their spell book, and they can do it, and or simply purchase a scroll from the guild, because guild does have spells, that knowledge in my campaign version of Greyhawk, that is hard knowledge, meaning that's like technological secrets and stuff. So advanced, meaning the spell time stop or something that wish and stuff like that. It's like, no, to learn that spell, it will be very, 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 very difficult. But you can also research it, because you've heard about it. You can kind of, if you research something from scratch, it's really difficult. If you've seen something, know it exists, and you've seen it being cast and stuff, you get plus on the roll to do it. And it takes a long time to do it, so to speak. So yeah.
There are spells. I mean, there's so many books out there with great spells. Let me finish this up. All right, Complete Book of Necromancers with a lot of good spells in here. There's enough for the Necromancer class. And I've done this in previous discussions. There's enough from first, second, third edition, and a lot of other books to give you a complete 7-level, like an illusionist necromancer spell list.
They only go to 7th level?
I have them just like illusionists. They go to 7th. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
they're limited that way. Yeah.
9th. There is one PC in my campaign that can cast 8th level spells. Who's that, Tim? Which mage can cast 8th level spells? There's one. Isn't it your character?
Yeah.
Fensic, that's it.
I thought you were talking about necromancers, so I was.
No, necromancers just go to 7th, just like illusionists.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, Fensic, yeah. Was that a question somebody asked?
No. Anna just said that why do they only go to the 7th? It's just that's the way illusionists are.
Yeah,
so
I remember that now when you said it. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Magic of Faerun book, another one.
Fensic predates me playing with Jay.
Yeah, that's old.
Oh, okay.
Characters.
So we're talking older than 41 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So he's 16th level.
Pages from the Mages, another one.
41 years plus.
This one's great because it's got a lot of spell books. Like Snowlock is in here. That's where I got this is the book I got the Snowlock spells from. And there's like Kelvin's Warding Whip is in here. There's a lot of and there's some good magic items in this one too. So this is a good.
We got a good question here too,
sure.
and from Rethix. What about capturing spells that cast at you? And then we get into the counter spelling argument and stuff. That's another kind of wormhole to that I know a lot of. Yeah, that's
serious issue.
Various editions. It was not. I don't think it was part of 1E, 2E. It came in 3rd edition and onwards. Counter spelling have been.
We allowed to spell magic to counter spells if you have initiative and you have it prepped for a specific counter. Most spellcasters don't do it in our game just because of our game style, but it is capable of being done.
Yeah.
What about capturing spells? Rethix? No. Capturing the spell books of those bad guys cast at you, yes.
Mhm.
That, yes, absolutely. Most spells are gotten from captured spell books. That is a definite. But actually having the
Mhm.
spell cast at you, and that sounds like a meta magic feat, which would be cool if it was in the
Well,
game.
in third edition, you had counter spelling that you
Yeah.
can, but it was not that you can't. But that there were certain feats
Good
and
question.
stuff that you can actually store it and use the energy to regain. I think there was some archmages and stuff that had that ability. If you start throwing spells at them, they could kind of, instead of counter spelling them, it might have been some special classes and variants. I think
Zombie
you
neckers
remember
are
in
fun.
third edition there was some ideas along that you can actually store the spell energy and then throw it back at the player. So when you
Good
can,
question,
there was
Doc.
all sorts of weird things experimented with in third edition.
Yeah,
That,
you're right,
So,
Dragon.
some
Staff of the Magi does, and
Yeah.
Staffs of
Yeah,
Power
Staff
do
of the
capture
Magi.
spells, hence
yeah,
why
and
they
then
get.
they explode if you
Iron
capture
Stone.
more than
Cannibal, I don't know if there's a ring of spell capture, but I'm assuming that it would do the same thing. You got to be
Yeah.
careful in giving those items out too.
There is if you write it up in your campaign.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, meaning magic items. You meaning disguise.
I would
Great,
limit it by
great
level.
spells.
Yeah.
Ed Greenwood, great spells.
Mhm. Yeah.
One more, and then I'm going to get to Doc Shoulder's question. Seven Sisters. All right, so last night the Greyhawk Mage found 4 spells in here. One of them was Elminster's multiple magic mouths, which I did,
Yeah.
had to do it, right? And Laryl's Raging Griffin, Many Jaws, Steel Dance. This is one of the best books for spells that you've never heard of before that you want to put in your game. It is awesome, this book. So there you go.
Hmm.
It's fantastic. Do you remember Flesh Shiver, Mike?
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
from that book. Snap, snap,
Yeah.
snap. Ah!
That was fun.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
That was fun.
Rod of
Yep.
Absorption 2
remember it.
Count Staff, another item. Yeah, volley spell.
Physician, heal thyself.
All right, so Doc said, with using alternative sources of spells, what is the best way to balance the power of spells to not alter the balance of the game? You have to play test them. It's
Yeah.
the only way to do it. And
Mhm.
so you have to get them in somehow without telling your players, NPCs,
And
enemies.
yeah, and also make sure you have a couple of gaming friends that are good min-maxers and have them
Yeah,
read
yeah,
it
true.
and then test play it with them. So you know the ones
True.
that are sneaky, smart
Yeah.
players that you have and then you play test it with them. So they, because they will
Yeah.
figure out the way to abuse it and to use it or abuse it depending on how you see it, to use it to maximum effect.
Absolutely.
And then you know how to dial it down a bit. So yeah, or sometimes you don't need to change
that would be a
the
good one.
numbers. You might just
That's a
want to
good one.
tweak, like we talked with Mike, meaning you have the mage hand. Meaning if you don't want mage hands to be used by high level rogues or thieves in order to open doors from a
Forward spell.
distance,
Good to
you
see.
put in the saying that you don't use they only have average dexterity or
Yeah.
a normal dexterity, meaning they're 10 dexterity and or something. So you can just change the text of some of the spell, might change some spells in effect, so to speak. And then you have to and the casting time. And there's so many variables that you can tweak in with the spells. So yeah.
Hey, one way I was thinking you could spice it up too is you could be
Blood magic.
you have different sects and schools and places that are highly protective of their secrets,
Mhm.
and they're not going to let people know. So you could partition all the spells into these various schools and various organizations that do
Yep.
not share. They
Yep.
wouldn't share. Why would they? You know,
Yeah.
they're not going to, because that's power. That's their specialty. So they're not going to
Yeah.
give it away or share it.
Yeah.
And then you're,
They
Good
ask for
insurance.
loyalty, meaning you have to fight for them and
Yeah.
swear loyalty to
Yeah.
them and be useful for them in order to get the goodies from them.
Hence why I think the general magic user is cool, but I like creating the custom classes
Mhm.
because, and that's why another reason why I don't like the invokers and the charmers and them, because the spell thing is all inclusive except for that one sphere, right? Every spell that's possible in the game they can take. A little too much, right? It's just a little too much for me. My normal
Yep.
mages can't take certain specialty elementalist spells. Only limit the special spells to special classes or individuals. The same thing with specialty priests. You're not going to give an Alana spell to frickin' an Arol
But
Cleric.
that you can do in you can say that you need to have certain elemental you need to have a specialty, you need to be specialized in the school in order to cast it and understand it. So that's something that I always used sometimes, that you can, or that you became more powerful, meaning any mage can cast fireball, but a fire elemental or an invoker could, or evocation specialist can cast way more powerful cool things and do get a better version of it. And then there's some spells that evocation specialists only, so to speak. So I limit that to so you need to be trained, need to be a specialist for that school in order to cast a spell. Yeah.
All right, some real quick, cool 3rd edition books. If you like Shadow Mages, you can make them out with this book and this book.
Oh,
There's a lot of shadow magic in these books.
And that comes another thing. Rituals is an interesting thing that comes into magic. That is something that was not used much in the early editions, but become more and more interesting and more used in later editions of the game. Rituals. And that is real cool. And do you use magic that are more powerful than regular 9th level, for instance?
No.
Okay, meaning not even for meaning invoke devastation and weird things that end of the world kind of magic and stuff.
I haven't. We don't play on that level of gaming.
No, I don't mean that for characters. I mean in your campaign, meaning would there be like godly magic that would be more powerful, or certain NPCs? I mean, if Vecna came around, would he use magic that will be on a higher level than what player characters could cast or something?
We don't
like
get there because I don't have gods
or
interacting.
ritual.
I don't have God. Yeah. So it's like this adventure I'm going to do Thursday is about the highest level we play.
Yeah.
13, 14, 15th level characters coming up on Thursday.
And yeah, it's kind of, I've introduced and used I used that extensively in 3rd edition Pathfinder days, that you had elder rituals that were way more powerful than but they could take hours and days to cast. Meaning if you were in an area that was going to be affected by it, you start seeing the ominous signs coming and the storms coming and the horrible things were gathering and nature was withering and all sorts of stuff. Meaning could turn an area into a part of the abyss, basically, and stuff. So you had these things that tweaks that are way more powerful, meaning you could talk square miles in an area of effects.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Yes, but what do you do as a player character against that?
Well,
you flee, or you kill the ones that do it. So those are the 2 options. Yeah, those are the 2 options. Yeah, or you suffer through it. Yeah. So, but the interesting thing is that to me, what is interesting is that all of these effects are described and used in the games. In fantasy literature, in adventure, but there's no rules for them. Meaning the characters are not supposed to do it, and it's just something that happens. It's part of the story and not part of the game. And to me, I don't like that. I want to have rules and effects and stuff for it. So I want them to be part of the mechanics of the sandbox and not just a thing that just happens.
I try to limit that level of interaction, because I find that when you go there, you don't go back. You can't go back, and I don't want. You know what I'm saying? I just don't want to get to that precipice, and that's why we don't play 20th, 25th level characters running around.
Yeah,
we have characters 13th, 14th, 15th, at 10th, and then their characters start retiring at that age. Forgotten Realms has 25th level Harpers running around, right?
But I've thrown magic like that at 3rd level characters. Meaning you get out or you die, or you have to suffer through it, so to speak. Meaning, come on here, that's
cataclysmic.
Exactly, yeah. Meaning when I conquered an area, he didn't fool around. Meaning he really threw the meaning, and you have things like the on the opposite side, you have the Krookarau, meaning that worked in many square miles.
Ridiculousness on one end, undid ridiculousness on the other end too, right?
Yeah, but I like some artifacts and stuff can have effects like that, and certain things can be more powerful than others. But I would not let player characters have it lightly, so to speak. I never had a player character wield magic that powerful. And I would not let one creator do it. You have to be like a cabal of casters and do it over days, and meaning if you start killing them or distracting them, that the
Yeah.
magic is screwed up. So,
Ritual magic is
Yeah.
something that I mean, I'm
Yeah.
assuming when you get to that high level and it's necessary,
Well,
that would be cool.
Thank you,
changed-
Sean Allen.
I changed the nature of magic when I run it to be ritual in general, and you're trading time for safety when you're preparing your spells. So
Yeah.
I introduced a couple rituals, but it requires everyone to know how to do it, which is complicated and difficult. They have to commit significant amount of time to know
Yep.
how to do it, because they're
Mhm.
all doing different parts that support the whole spell. But
Yep.
it's not godlike. It's just complicated, difficult. So somebody might do the scrying, so they're
Yep.
doing the targeting, and then somebody's doing, so there's different parts, and they all have to do it together, and they're doing it over a long period of time to get the effect they want.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I'm
I have
gonna-
it too. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to run because I have to get these characters finalized, and I have a couple people I have to meet with to finish their barbarian characters.
Good.
So,
Mhm.
so
Good luck.
I'm gonna.
Tim,
sure will.
thanks. Thanks
Good
for
seeing
hopping
you
in.
again.
Yeah, Tim.
Yep.
Good seeing you.
Talk to you shortly.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I have a question from Dragon Silver Celine. Shadow Mage. I'm going to give you some spells that are in 1E, 2E that are Shadow Mage spells that you may not think of. Darkness, Sleep, Spook, Blur, Rave Enfeeblement, and then you got Non-Detection, Continual Darkness. Now those are spells that you could be considered. Fear can be considered in the Shadow Sphere. Major Creation, Shades. Illusionists have a lot of Shadow Mage spells. You got to pull them out of Illusionist. All the Illusionist spells are not Shadow Mage spells, right? So Mirror Image is not a Shadow Mage spell.
Yeah. That comes a question. I want to hear your opinion about illusions, how you
Oh,
work
they're
with
tough.
illusions, because they're exactly, they're a special class of, and same thing with you, Mike, how you
tough.
adjudicate and DM illusions, because that's a whole separate special issue when it comes to spells. I just wanted to throw it out so we can get back to
Illusions are, you have to assume that the enemies, if they're intelligent creatures, are as smart as the PCs are. So you need to go, what is going to happen if the enemy casts this on the PC? Is he going to be an idiot and stupid, or is he going to you got to make that assumption.
Yeah.
And
One of the sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things that helped me in adjudicating illusions, because people always say, I go around disbelieving everything, so to speak. They become the eternal pessimists during combat or whatever. So what I said, that in order to disbelieve, you have to spend an action to do it. And meaning you have to stop combat and just look at things. Meaning you can't just say, oh, I disbelieve it, and then you get a save. No, in order to get a save, you have to spend an action in order to, or a whole round sometimes, in order to you have to stop doing and make yourself vulnerable and really look at it, interact with it, meaning you have to take time and do it during combat and stuff. And otherwise, I try to be ambiguous when I talk about it, and sometimes it's really, I think illusions that are detailed, trying to like cover a hole with an illusion and having it not fall in, those are tricky and don't work well. But some illusions that are more elaborate, I remember I had an illusion that was really successful in the one of the first sessions in my Rel Devon campaign. I had an illusion of General Duke Sephrin came and with some of his troops and attacked them. They fought that illusion for 2 sessions before they realized it was an illusion. And they fought it, and was hard, and it was
it a projected
hard.
image or an illusion?
Oh no, it was a bunch of, that was a ritual, so to speak.
Okay.
That was a ritual that a bunch of wizards, priests, and stuff threw at them, so to speak. So that was one. They created a battlefield and a vision of it, and there were some real creatures in it too. And then there was an illusion of the tough one. And then afterwards, when they fought that illusion, then the real one came afterwards. and taught them to go fuck themselves. I'm sorry to use
It's
that
okay.
word on the show, but
Wah,
to
wah,
go somewhere
wah.
or die, so to speak. And he Duke Zephyrin was graceful and said that, well, you fought valiantly and effectively, whatever. So I'm going to wait until tomorrow, and then I'm going to wipe you out and kill you. And those players, their characters ran and ran and ran that night, so to speak. So that was fun. So yeah. So that was, and he just wanted to mock with them because they were not powerful enough to even threaten him. He just wanted to have fun. And it took four. I think it was like 3 or 4 sessions before that happened. So
Illusionists can really mess up really mess up your best laid plans.
Yeah. So you can, but illusions can be cool, so to speak, but they have to work not from don't try to force illusions mechanically and tell, oh, your character will simply suffer for it because you fail to save. If the illusion doesn't work and the players just see through it, just go with it and just say that usually works best, I think, is that it's but it is the hardest, and especially when you have a player character that is an illusionist. Yeah, because then in some ways it's easier because you can just assume that dumb creators will fall in, they will fall for it, so to speak. But smart, savvy, or wise ones that are savvy, they might be very pessimistic, and ones that are scared and will be hunted. Meaning, you have a bunch of little kobolds or goblins. Meaning, if they've been thrusted at magic a lot of times, they might be simply skeptical about anything and start throwing rocks at whatever just to be so. But it's one of the hardest forms of spells that requires some light-hearted handling, so to speak. It's a tricky thing.
It is, but once again, you got to balance everything and just
exactly,
learn how to do it.
So it's really hard. And one of the things that helped me was when I started to adjudicate, say it takes time to disbelieve. It's not something you can just say. You have to actually do it as your character, have to spend time to actually disbelieve things. And the same thing goes for perception. If you want to have a good look at everything that can happen in the battlefield, you have to spend an action on taking the perception and stuff. So yeah.
Mike, any comments on that?
I'm sorry, I
right.
kind of went overboard language-wise here. So yeah.
Any comments
but
on
I actually
illusions?
Yeah, Mike, what's your take on illusions?
Illusions?
It's tricky, but
Sally's not a fan.
No, it's situational.
Yeah.
Disbelieving should take an action. I agree.
Yeah, that helped me quite a bit, because then all of a sudden it wasn't automatic. They had to kind of yeah.
So, Doc, here's the question. Here's the way it is. I have that you don't have a spell book, and say there's the spell Magic Missile, and you have 6 mages in your party, and they can all write it in. It ain't happening in my game. When that spell gets written out of that spell book into your spell book, it is gone. Okay. Libraries and areas of research is where you go to research spells, not spell books that are written. It's a one-shot deal. Writing a scroll into a spell book or writing from another spellcaster's spell book into yours is it. It erases it, whether you're successful or not. That eliminates the spell sharing.
That is interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Research in libraries is a different thing. If you're going to the Greyhawk, or you're going to Candlekeep, or you're going to the Altamira Guild, that's where the library. That's where you do your research when you go up in levels.
Yeah.
And that's
I wouldn't have it that they could copy each other's spells, but what I would have. Oh, thank you, Calsteph. Yeah, now you made me blush here. But but I would have that if you had 2 wizards in the party, they could copy each other's spells. I would have no issues with that. But the thing is, if they find, but then you can fairly straightforward do that if you have the help of the person whose spell book it is, because spells are written in kind of a personalized language. So if you kill a wizard and then try to use his spell book, you have to research the spell out of it, and that takes time, and it's a downtime activity that it's tricky, and you need to
I look at it this way.
Time.
Mages are very, very protective of their
but if 2 players, if they want the other player to have carried, that's something for them. It's up to them. I don't agree. That's player agency. I don't want to take away from the player. If the player wants to share their spells with the world and put up a stand in the middle of Greyhawk and start giving everybody spells, they would be allowed to, unless the guild of wizardry will come and yell at them.
It's a
and
game
chase them
balance
out.
thing. I don't want a rare spell that I've given to Alan's character ending up with every other mage in the campaign. It's not happening. So because it's not happening, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
so
but you have another cool that's because you have so many characters. Crossover groups and all that, so to speak. I run one group at a time. One
adventuring group campaign, different story.
Yeah,
but I have 56 mages in the Order of Ulick.
Yeah,
they're not all having that one rare spell. It's just, I'm sorry, you know, they're rare for a reason.
That is it's a different situation in your gaming, so to speak. So
Thank you, Alderon. That's just the way it is, and everyone's got a little different the way they do it. So I'm not, you know, it's just I want uniqueness in the mages. I want every mage to be a little different. I want every class to be a little different. But that's, once again, my ray's not right or wrong. And everyone's
what suits your game and what suits someone else's game differs.
Yes,
because it's what works for your group of players around the table, so to speak. That's
here's how it works. So the traveling spell book. You have your spell list, okay? And I said this at the beginning of the stream last night. Neither of them are high enough level to have a traveling spellbook or can afford one. A traveling spellbook is 500 gold pieces. You can put 6 spells of first, second, and third level into your wizard, magic user, traveling spellbook, elementalist, whatever you are. For spells that you want to take on the road and you want to regain spells while you're out in the middle of the wilderness. Any wizard that takes their spellbook out in the middle of nowhere is asking for trouble for that getting destroyed. So, and then at 4th, 5th, and 6th level, it's 4 spells. 7th and 8th, it is 2, and at 9th, 0. You can't put them. Now, there's a Bacchus Blessed Book, one of the most valued magic items there is. It's an Ars Arcana. There's Anna's character Imri has one. You can write a ton of spells into that as a backup traveling spellbook. The answer is yes. Traveling spellbooks are something in my game. Definitely.
I don't think I've thought that elaborate about it. It's a book that wizards have, and they can put whatever spells they want into it. But on the other hand, if it's taken and then deciphered and researched upon, then others can use it, and that way you have to kind of research your spells back, and it's a really precious part of the property of a wizard, so to speak.
See a long shot. The mage should be extremely protective of their gear, their items, their craft.
And most wizards would never share with strangers. They will only share with the ones fighting on the same side, and that's why joining a guild, for instance, then you will get access to other guild members. Will share spells with other guild members and stuff. And sometimes it's just like for money, and a lot of times it's like in my campaign here, I have the shield mages. That's the wizard part of the Order of the Shield. And when you're a shield mage and you fight with them, then you get access to their spells. Not everything, but a lot of them.
You're making a great point, and I want to show you how I do. This is a good thing. The Guild of Wizardry, or the Guild of Spellcasters in Altamira, which there is one. So here is their library of spells, of base magic user spells. Okay, here it is, and you can see I've written some extra in there, and I probably haven't updated this in 10 years. Now, if a member of this guild gets or finds a spell that's not on this list, this is where when they do research, this is where they can pull from to roll their no spell percent. Okay, if they find a spell, they can choose whether or not it's highly recommended to add their spell to the library. They still got to roll their no spell. That is how we handle it. So
that's how I've done too. If a wizard is member of a guild or some order or something where you have it, one of the highest honors you can do, if you find a spell they don't have and you put that in a scroll and you hand it over to the guild, or you research a new spell and then you give them the knowledge of that spell, that would pay you for fees for at least 1 year per level. So if you research the 9th level spell, or you find a new cool 9th level spell, that the leaders of the
Good
order or
question.
the guild might say that you might have not, you get free membership for a decade, or like for 9 years doing it, or something. Different guilds have different rules for that, but that is one of the best things you can do in order to boost your odds to get cool spells.
So
Is
Wu-Tang,
to,
yeah. And that's great too. Wu-Tang just asked a great question. How
Okay.
easy is it to join a guild? So I have 3 that are utilized in my game: Altamira, Hardbee, Greyhawk. They're the 3.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greyhawk doesn't allow necromancers. Period.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
Bill's character Salen is like, that sucks, but he doesn't have access to the library. They don't want necromancers there.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
no ifs, ands, or buts to it.
Yeah.
So the question is, in the rules for Greyhawk, you can pay a fee. I think it's 100 gold a year to join the guild, as long as you are pre-screened and make sure you're not chaotic evil or whatever, and one of those.
Yeah.
So it's fairly easy in Greyhawk if you have the money and you have the initial connection. Altamira, there's no evil spellcasters allowed in the Altamira Guild, right? It's an Order of Ulic city, so none. Neutral,
Yeah.
good only. So if it's trying to be infiltrated, so there's rules. There's rules,
Yeah.
but it's 100 gold pieces a year there as well too, Wu-Tang. So
Yeah.
as of now, the 2 spellcasters in the game last night, Nixolia and Ravalantar, they have the money now, but I'm going to ask if they want to join the guild so they can have access to those spells there when they level up. Now, the Greyhawk Mage, let's get to this before the end of the night, and this is what the whole point here. All right. Is that where it says that?
Can I just mention
Go for it.
one thing about the guild membership is that
Yep.
I have basically the same idea, but there's 2 types of guilds. One is more like the guild, like Guild of Wizardry and Greyhawk and stuff, that you pay a membership fee and you do it. So then it's about money or reputation. If you're really high level and a cool mage that done things, they might want you to be a member, and you can contribute research or knowledge, and you can be a member, or
Gotcha.
money, or a combination of the 2. Then you have another type of guild or order, and that's like the shield
That's a good
mage.
one.
That mages that you need to fight for them. You don't pay a membership fee or anything. You simply have to fight for, like knights do. You have to swear an allegiance, and you have to fight for them. If you fight as a wizard for the shield lands and do it, then if you do it effectively, loyally, that's when you can be in, and then you be elected into the shield wizards. And there are several other orders and stuff like that. Or you might simply, a lot of kings might have a wizardry council that works like a guild. And if you're really useful to the king, and the courtly wizard might simply say, yep, it's like a noble title or something, then you become a member. So there are the militaristic one, and that you can be a member by being a useful, fighting for them, being loyal, or you can pay money, or you can get it as a grant because you're useful for the king or something, and he can or some other powerful person can simply say, well, you get to join, so to speak. So that's how I do it.
It's good. I mean, and that's another good way to do it too. Because
Yeah.
you got wizards that aren't near a major city, spellcasters. You got to figure out a
Yep.
way to do it for them, and that's
Yep.
a perfectly good way to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, man. And that's a yeah.
So sorry.
There's all different sorts of little tricks and ways to do it, and that's what I put down in chat. Take what you like and don't like from any suggestions that you hear here or from anyone else, and craft it to your style.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you may not want to make guilds, and you're saying this is too much.
Yeah,
you know?
and present it to your players, and
Exactly.
let them react to it, and what they like you keep, and what they don't like you kind of write out that way, and make disappear from your campaign.
And that's the great thing. The Greyhawk Mage that Ed played last night.
Yeah.
If you look in here, it says whenever they bring back a previously unheard of spell, they get to pick 2 new spells from the available spell list. This will be Greyhawk City for Ravalantar, and keep it. A new one. The college has mastered it. So I'm not going to have him travel all the way back to Greyhawk because it'll mess things up. He gives them in. Altamira is going to transfer them to Greyhawk, and they're in his spell list. So those 4 spells he got last night that Ed wrote himself from the 7 Sisters, Many Jaws, Steel Dance, Larrell's Raging Griffin and Elminster's multiple magic mouths he has in his book. They're all 3rd level. He's still getting cast them because he's not 5th yet. So there you go. So that's part of the coolness of the class. The class is seeking out new and wonderful spells.
So it's a bit like a researcher and scholarly wizard more than a battle one in some ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so
that's really cool. You emphasized on the scholarly side of the wizard. I think that's super cool.
They can't cast Fireball, or they don't want to cast Fireball.
Uh-huh.
So if you have this book, this is the book of all books to get. Now there's spells all over the place. I want to talk about the Greyhawk Mage because Ed played it, and a lot of people go, "What is this class Ed's playing?" So I want to talk about it real quick. Get this book because these spells are all in here. Let me just run up the list real quick. Mike, please, if you have any commentary as well, please chime in at any point, man. All right, here's Luke's list. There's not a lot of spells for each level, but Ed's character Ravalandar is a disciple of Luke and Luke's spells. Luke's dead, so Jawal Severnane has taken over the training for Luke. Luke's he has Bubbling Buoyancy, Smoky Sphere, Boiling Oil Bath. He had them in his spell book. He cast Smoky Sphere in the very first fight, as you know, but he had all of them in his spell book. He gets access to all the Luke spells when he goes up. There are lists of all the other. He once used name spells, so he may down the road. He can also use the Big B spells, or he can use, but he has to research them, right? He can use the Nystal spells. And he used Nystal's Blazing Beam last night. He didn't use it on the final boss. He used it on an owlbear, which worked just as well. So, and he'll use rare spells. He'll use basic spells like Shield. But he ain't using fireballs and lightning bolts. That's not what he's about. Now, if he uses a damaging spell that's a name spell, it's a flavor aspect class. Yeah. And Ed loved it. And we have 3 Greyhawk Mages in our campaign. Ed's character, Ravalantar, is the 4th. And so it's been in playtest for about 5 years.
Yeah.
We tend to play test stuff for about 10 years.
Yeah, wow. That's as long as an edition normally lasts.
Yeah. So I'm jealous of the Greyhawk Mage. I know I've mentioned this before in one of these streams. I used to, for whatever reason, withhold name spells for my friends, even the ones that were in the base player handbook.
Yeah.
I always used to argue that, oh no, you gotta find that. That's a Mordenkainen spell. Only Mordenkainen has that. And in hindsight, I wish I had something like Jay set up to where I could have used those Greyhawk Adventure spells or something like that, which have now just gathered dust and
Joe Block.
Never know.
Joe Block did them all in 5e.
Yes.
True.
Yeah.
So if you do play 5e, you have access to go to Grognard's site. Let me see if I have a link.
Yeah.
I can remember.
Go to Grognard, and there's downloads, and he did all those Greyhawk Mage spells for all the circle in 5e. And so, now note, name spells can be spells from the Great Net Spellbook. There's a whole bunch of spells from a person named Alpha. I use Alpha spells all the time. Melf's Acid Arrow, Melf's Minute Meteors, Lehman's Tiny Hut. Now, Lehman has a small number of spells, but there's like 6, 7, 8 of them. You want to, get those spells and get them into your game. All I'm saying is variety makes for a fun game. It was pretty cool to hear, what is this Luke Smoky Sphere spell that he cast last night? And that's the whole point.
But a lot of to have unique new spells, it's one of the things that you need to have. It really flavor, and also to have spells that add flavor, like Bakloonish spells.
Absolutely.
So you can have like Goblin Shaman spells, and they don't need to be. You can just tweak them a little bit, give them some a little bit new characteristics and new area of effects and stuff like that, and look at 5 or 10 spells that are offensive. If you want to have like a damage dealer, that is 3rd level. Look at 3 or 4 or 5 spells that do damage at that level, and then tweak something so you get roughly the same parameters, and then tweak it in flavor and kind of cool things. And then you come to the other stuff as DM. don't tell the players what spell is being used.
Absolutely.
Describe the effects. Don't say that a goblin shaman casts whatever. Tell the goblin shaman, there is fire in the air that is like embers falling everywhere and starting to whatever, and acid things or whatever. So try and describe the spells, and then you have to, then if some character like a wizard or something wants to figure out what spell it is, they have to spend an action and they have to make a skill check, a spellcraft or knowledge arcana or something, in order to figure out what it is. And even if they do, they might say that it's a spell you don't know, and then they have to research even more. You haven't encountered that. That's a new spell. It's so you don't know what it is, and so you can really kind of tweak it and make fun of it. So Magic, don't just treat it at like, okay, they cast whatever. So yeah.
Great idea there, Varl BGem. All right, you want to make up some of your own spells. Are you ready? I'm going to give you a spell that's in 5e. You can do it in a second. Burning Hands, freezing hands. There you go. Acid Hands.
Yep, exactly.
There you go. And I have those in my games.
Yep.
You can even do it electrical hands, or like, bolts of, you can shards, metal shards.
Yep. Meaning you can, stuff like that.
Right.
And they can do that. They can have the same area of effect. They have the same, do the same damage, and that's it. So
absolutely.
That's how you do it.
Especially if you have elementalists and you need to fill spell lists. That's the way to do it really easily, is take basic spells. Fireballs out there, and there's all force balls different, but do you have acid ball? You can do snow. You can do all sorts of things.
And for instance, instead of just having a fireball, you can, why don't have like a screaming skull that comes and careers through, and you can even exactly, you can even reduce. It's like an IU spell, and because I have IUs and Nagoya, Brian Nagoya, you don't listen to this because it's coming. So you have like you tweak regular spells and make them in versions of them that have side effects, meaning you can take a fire spell, reduce the damage, add some sonic effects and some other stuff that freaks the living dayl out of players, and thank you. So you can do cool stuff like that. You can even make spells less effective if you ramp up the all the cool stuff around it, so to speak, and do it, and you can diversify. You can so flavorful spells, especially when monsters and others using it can be a lot of fun.
There are so many cool things that are very easy to do, and and I'm not saying this just because I played for so long. A lot of people don't realize that you can change. It's just like changing a magic weapon. Okay, you change them and you take a +1 sword and you give it a little special ability. You've changed it in your game. Same thing with a spell.
Ball is Sonic Ball is a perfect example.
I think
it
that's
comes
kind of
boom and goes boom.
Anna, I think that is one thing that, am I wrong? If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'm not audition warring, but 5e's kind of lost that.
I think 3E had a bunch of because they had all these different types of damage. You had sonic damage, you had necrotic damage, and I think 5E is in between the old school and the third edition. They have some of it. They call it Radiant. I have to read and learn 5e better in order to do it. But I think that 3.5 and Pathfinder were crazy about all sorts, and especially if you had books like Exalted Deeds and the really evil one that I forgot what it was, the Vile Evil or Vile Book of Vile, whatever, some vileness or whatever. Vile Darkness, that's the one. And because they introduced vile damage and exalted damage, so they added even more types of damage to that you can deal. So I think there was like 7 or 8 of them and stuff. So there was like so many different ways you can hurt characters and monsters, and that made for an enormous kind of variety to it. And to some degree that is fun, but you can house rule that in. You can add stuff. If you like to have psychic damage in your game and it's not in the version of the rules you use, you can add it. If you want to have special vile damage, you can do it. You can add it. But that's like with everything else. You need to play test it, and it can't be over powerful, but it should be more, as much for flair. It can't be more effective than other damage. I don't think it should be. but it should be, but for flavor, yes. And then you have the cool thing is then you can start adding protection spells and stuff that to it. So it, yeah, it becomes an arms race. So it's, but one of the cool thing is that you can add stuff like that, just like we haven't talked about different variants of the mage, meaning you can have rune casters, you can have weird wizards that use stone tablets or knots with strings with knots on them to memorize their spells, or weird things. Instead of a spell book, they can have like a bunch of little ropes with knots on them, or stone tablets, or something. You can have druids that inscribe their magic on trees, and kind of weird, interesting things that can be. So a lot of things can be added for flavor without changing the mechanics at all.
Absolutely. I mean, you can just have fun with it and
Yep.
experiment and just, tweak a little here and there. Did they get the whole? No. No double fisting wands. No, this isn't. This isn't the Wild West.
That's an interesting. Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where you need to think twice before you.
Tino, one on each hand, unless you use the number one use of a wish in my campaign is to wish to wear 3 rings. That's the number one wish. It's one ring per hand in my game. That's it.
Yeah. That's another interesting thing that have taken many game systems have worked hard on. I just need to get Meanie down here. Yeah, worked hard on trying to tweak, and I think both 5e and Pathfinder 2 uses some sort of attunement rule, so you have to kind of attune yourself into a magic item, so you can't go around shifting like you use golf clubs and abuse it. And you can't use
Prince Edward. That's funny. Prince Albert ring. Extort. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's various ways that various editions of the rules have tried to tweak that, and you have slot systems that was introduced in 3rd edition that was kind of strict, and that Pathfinder used as well, and then you have attunement in 5e Pathfinder 2, and yeah, there's various different ways to do it, and yeah.
So, Dragon, if you notice when I play the one shots, it's tough. But when I play with my players, I am not. And Mike, I don't know how you are on this. I want to get your thoughts on this. I am not for. We had a fight. Now we short rest. It's not called short, but it's called we can't. I hate that. So I push my guys through. And I said this last night when Ed wanted to step back. I said, you're never going to get through that night camping. I'm gonna wandering monster you to death, because it's a one shot too. But sometimes you want to force your characters to use what they have that's limited, and they're out of spells, or they may did not have their key spells, and you want to push them and you want to challenge them. So thank you. Thank you for that agreement on there. I am. Oh, we had a big fight. Now we got to get our spells back. No.
Yeah, to me, since Mike, do you want to?
No, that's definitely the prevailing wisdom on 5th edition. So it is kind of irksome.
It is.
Yeah.
It feels like World of Warcraft all over again. It feels like it feels like the RPG where you hit the rest button until you rest it up.
Yeah. For me, it's since I run a sandbox and things are there, whether the characters are whatever level and so on, then it depends. Meaning, if they go in our mission and they spend all the resources, if they sit down and camp somewhere, if they do that next to the enemy will probably find them and deal with them, so to speak. So then they need to go in and then out again, or stay in. But on the other hand, if they conquer a keep and then keep it, then they might be able to stay there for a week before anyone wants to spend a significant amount of effort to root them out. So it's a matter of where they can camp and how powerful they are, meaning they're high level characters in an area where there are not that many, then they can camp out for a month before someone wants to deal with them. And it's only when they start building a keep that and they might so there are certain times when and you can also deal with the DM. You can make the game boring if they camp down and start buffing up and do all that. Then the enemy stays away, because they will see that, oh, you don't want to deal with these characters because they are so nasty and so powerful, so they simply stay away. So then the players have to start chasing the enemy instead, and that way you can kind of get the players to not sit and take it easy, because they want to catch the enemy that is now on the run, because the players the characters are so powerful that it becomes
Rope
a
track's
chase.
got limited.
Yeah,
Yeah,
rather
there's-
than yeah.
They're talking
there are ways
about
to deal with it.
hiding during encamping and stuff. Note this: most of those spells have limited duration. You can't do it for
Yeah.
8 hours.
Yeah.
So it's just
But
it's just
yeah.
yeah.
But
There's a lot of
you limit you have there's spells for it that you can hide somewhere, and I allow it for, and if they're
It's hard to hide a
onto
whole
something
party.
really powerful, that those powerful ones know how to deal with it, so to speak. But if they're just chasing a bunch of little goblins somewhere, no problem. They can camp out as long as they want. That they will probably not touch them. So it depends on who you're fighting, so to speak. Yeah.
Look, we didn't get to. I know we're way over time. We didn't get to a lot of discussions. I will do another session down the road on the Wild Mage. I really want to talk about it.
Yeah, the Wild Mage.
Yeah, the Wild Mage, because I know now that we know Zeb Cook created it, I want to talk about how
and we also have. Yeah, and also the other spellcasters, meaning what about the bards and their spellcasting?
There's a lot of stuff we didn't get
and
to.
stuff like that too, and I think
it's cool.
is worthy of talking to, and about the other spellcasters, the secondary spellcaster.
Shout out Stella.
Yeah.
So why don't we do some shout outs real quick and do the giveaway, and then it's Kayla's 1 year anniversary. Time Lord's wife, if she's still on, I'm gonna rate it to her, even if she's not doing D&D. I don't care, but because it's a 1 year anniversary for her. So Mike, thanks for coming on, man. That was cool. What's going on with you? I'm losing my voice too.
Well, let's see. My game night tomorrow was already canceled. I haven't played in that campaign for a couple months now, which is too bad. But at least on Tuesday, I'll be me and Jerry Holian will be trying to escape a jungle island, so that should be fun.
Cool.
Other than that, I'm just going through my blog, trying to update everything from. I'm on 2013 now, and a lot of Cannon Fire and 4th edition links and remove or fix.
Speaking of Cannon Fire, I haven't shouted out. All right, so I haven't shouted out the Discords. Note this: there's the Cannon Fire Discord and the website, and then there's Virtual GradCon Discord. I will re-announce this, but our first meeting for Virtual GradCon is next Saturday. So note that it's coming. Yeah. It's in October, but you probably want to get, if you haven't joined that Discord, it may not seem like a lot's going on there now, but there will be a lot going on there shortly. So, but that's cool, Mike. Who's DMing for you Tuesday?
That's Rich.
Rich.
Oh, awesome.
Rich.
Yep.
Rich. Awesome. That's cool. And I heard he killed Gary, but it got undone last week.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
That's
undone. That's a new term. Yeah.
Well, for example, Wild Mage has alternate reality, which undoes the last round.
Wow.
So that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's different ways of undoing.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that way. So, okay. Well, good things can happen sometimes, though.
Yeah.
So, well, Mike, thanks. Really appreciate you hopping on, and we'll
see
you again for number 99 on Wednesday, which I'm going to talk about shortly.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And then we have planned the 100.
Yes. Anna, what's up?
Well, first I can tell we had a session, session 9, I think it is. Yeah, in my Shield Lance campaign today. The first one that we did in 5e, level 1. They are level 1 now. They leveled up and had boot camp training and have started to storm the keep of Aldit. That's their first mission, is to storm the keep and clear it out of Iusians and other weird things. So then they decided to not storm outside and climb it up or something. Like they actually went down and tried to get in through the dungeon, so to speak. So that's where we left off for next week. It was I had a lot of fun that session. So we're starting to get there. So yeah. So that's happening on the front. Then I have some good news. My mother didn't. They gone through, so she doesn't have any malign cancer or anything. It was a benign tumor. So that means that I don't have to pack my things and go to Sweden and do all that stuff. So that is it's a good thing. So yeah. Yeah, Jay, I just said that my mother is
I'm
okay.
sorry.
It was not a cancer. It was a benign
Well, that's
thing.
great
So
to
yeah,
hear. That's
so
I'm
so I
sorry,
don't have
Miss
to go to Sweden and
Oh, that's
all that
great.
stuff. So
That's
yeah, so that
fantastic.
means that I'm going to relaunch my Kickstarter. There will be new tiers, there will be
Oh,
new
good.
goals, and a bunch of stuff like that coming now. Because I didn't want to do that because I wasn't sure if I had to put things on hiatus and bring my laptop and stuff like that. Now that's not going to happen. So need to happen. So that's the good thing. So
Awesome.
that is, yeah, so that was great news. So that means that there will be a new goals. So I can present them a little bit here. So there will be, I'm almost up to $1,000 a month. So when I get to $1,000, that will be the goal will be the GIS goal, so to speak. And the reason for that is that it will be so I can get my geographical information system tools and a couple of classes. I want some literature and some new software for it that costs a fair bit of money. So I want to get that. And the basic reason for that is that ties into the next tier. When we get to $1,500, that's the print tier. That's when I want to then I have enough money so I can do test prints and I can create a lot of special versions for print. And I know that's something that's being asked a lot of me, so to speak. So when we get to $1,500 a month, that's when I will put dedicated time to do special print versions. I will launch a cooperation with Noble Dwarf Printing. So there will be printable versions in various sizes and stuff like that. And so the GIS goal at $1,000 is to start converting all the mapping and stuff into that version, because then you can do different types for print, so you get the right size of the text and the labeling and all that. It's kind of a no shout out. I've done a few streams and stuff, but I've actually partnered up with Jay for most of my streaming and stuff, because that's so good, because I don't have to sit and do the stuff. But I'm thinking
One shot
about it.
stop.
Yeah, to start to do some when I get to fun stuff that because a lot of stuff when I sit and do my mapping means that it's so boring that watching paint dry is more fun than to see me doing my mapping. But we'll see. I might do some things, and we're also thinking about having a cartography show like once a month
Yes.
or so. So that's something
Hopefully,
we have
with
to
Melissa
look into
Fade,
and see.
maybe,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
monthly or something.
exactly.
That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
we can have a cartography show where we talk about fantasy cartography in detail, so to speak, and because I think that will be way more fun than just to watch, because then we can talk about the principles, tools, and stuff like that, because that's one important part of the gaming for at least for most gamers, is to use maps in various shapes and forms.
It's a great
And
partnership, Nagoya.
yeah,
It is, and it works very well with Anna
yeah,
and me with what
yeah,
we do.
but yeah, it works really well. So I can be a partner here, and then we can have, and also we can see if we can have like dedicated cartography shows occasionally. So I think that will be kind of a cool thing to
Absolutely.
have. Now we've had a few when I've had seminars for the conventions
yeah.
and stuff, but maybe we can have that like a regular feature, like once a month or something like that. Invite various cartographers to come and talk about their work, and we can talk about the technique and how to use maps in your games too.
It's a great
And
idea.
stuff.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
a home
yeah.
run. I mean, I'd love to have
Mhm.
Mike Schley on. I'd
Yep.
love to have him on.
Yeah, that's a good
Dyson,
question.
maybe have these people on. That'd be
Exactly.
great.
Yeah, meaning there's like a
Yeah.
dozen cartographers I would love to have on the show, from Darlene to Dyson to a whole bunch of them, and I know several of them personally. They're good friends of mine, so I want to have them on because there's so many awesome some stuff. And okay, so Greyhawk Bard,
Yeah.
one of the things that
Let me
I'm
show
going
a book.
to have more my dungeon maps. I haven't done that many. I've done a few maps professionally for commission work.
Anna's in this one too.
Oh yes,
This
yeah,
is all Anna's Curse of Lost Memories by.
No, not all of the maps,
well,
but most
Griffin
of the
Lore,
maps
yeah,
in there.
Griffin Lore
Oh
games.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of
Yeah,
maps
and
for
this
them
one,
too.
this is a lot of Anna maps
Yeah.
in here.
So and actually my maps that I use for my campaign are very sketchy, because I need, since I run a sandbox, I don't run like 1 or 2 locations. They go everywhere. So that means that I need to sketch up every village, age, the whole shebang, so to speak. So mine is very sketchy, but that's one thing that I would love to talk about the various, because depending on your play style, you might have very different needs for, meaning if you run miniatures, then you don't need dungeon maps, meaning Jay doesn't need dungeon maps
No.
for his games and stuff like that. But if you run a VTT, for instance, then it becomes as necessary as Jay's miniatures and terrain and stuff. So then you might need them, tons of them. So it depends very much on what, yeah. No, I don't have a Greyhawk City map for sale. That's one of my pet projects that I'm going to get to. And in a couple of years, 2-3 years, something like that, I'm going to launch a project to map the city. And I'm slowly getting there. I'm now all the technology, and now I have the skills and the tools. I just want to first get a new computer, a new set of computers, and hopefully when I get a little bit better, more patrons, and the prices started to come down a bit. So that's a goal for early next year, is to get, or this winter, to get a new set of computers. When I have that, I have the tools, and then I want to have a few more GIS tools for it, because then it's time for me to start mapping it. And that is a whole different project that needs to be talked about, because there are different versions of the city, and what I need to do both. So that's different. So yeah.
So
Smaller cities and towns. Yes, I have several of them that I've done in various sketch format and stuff, and they will come to all the maps that I will use for my campaign will be in my Patreon, and then will be available to everybody afterwards. So yeah,
I've linked it like 4 times. This is like the 5th time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so join my Patreon, and you will get the chance to see them first, and get them first.
I don't belong to many patrons. I belong to 3 whole patrons. That's it. And it's the best money you can spend. Trust me.
Yep.
That's the one to go to if you're going to do a Patreon.
Yeah. So Greyhawk City map is coming. I definitely want to get into it, but it's 2 or 3 years into the future, because when I do it, I want to make it right, so to speak. So it would require 6-8 months of research, and it needs to be done at least 2 versions of it, because we need the TSR version and we need the Gary's version. Both of them, I think, should be done. And then you can pick and choose which one you want. Yeah.
All right. So are you ready for what's going on? I'm probably going to miss stuff.
Yep.
Wednesday night, Legends of Lore number 99. We're almost to 100, which will be named magical weapons and items. So from modules, from Greyhawk Adventures, or from wherever, from some settings, some Eyes the Evil, there's stuff. We're going to go and bounce around over and discuss a lot of them. And we'll probably do we each pick one or some from the audience. So, that'll be a cool one. I don't have next week, and then we'll do the 100th show the week after. It'll be 100th Legends and Lore will be a week after on the 19th. So that's what's coming up on Wednesday. Thursday, 90% sure I'm going to run Tony's Great Adventure Xanthoria. Okay, it's 16th level in 5e, but I think it's going to be 13th, 14th, 15th in my game, and it's going to start with a wedding in the Free City of Altamira that's been planned for a while, and then we'll go from there. So I think it'll be maybe 2-3 weeks sitting on this, because the adventures in this are not super long, so it's cool. Troller Games sponsor giveaway on Thursday. What's coming up for the next 2 weeks of Gabbins? Well, thank you, Sean. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Next week, we have a great guest. Chris Promise is going to join us.
Yeah.
Co-writer to Slavers.
Yeah. Yeah, another awesome illuminary of the gaming industry. He's fantastic.
Yep. He will be on next week's Gabbin. The week after that, Alan Hammock will be on. So
I don't know much about him. That will be very
Ghost
interesting.
Tower of Inverness.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
A3. So Alan is, and Alan was one of the original persons there at the
Hang on a second.
days.
I might have met him at GaryCon.
It's very possible. You like that? I should just put WoW in big letters. So there you go. Yep. So we'll have them both on the next 2 weeks. Note that there's other discussions going on with some other people. We're working on it, trying to keep that moving forward. All right. So I know Mike Disney was in chat. note, last night, I just want to say a couple things you weren't at the beginning of the show. Last night, thanks, Greyhawk Bard.
Thank you.
Last
Yep.
night smashed records. Okay, highest viewer average ever.
Mm-hmm.
Cannibal and Patrick and Blue Box and Extort. You all went, and I know I'm missing a lot of people. You all went crazy with the cheers. Okay, thank you. Most of everyone used all the cheers up, except for Ed's character who had 8 specials left, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But so that was not a one shot, everyone. That's going to be a recurring group. The name of the adventuring group in Altamira is 2 Drink Minimum. That's the name they came up with.
It was awesome.
Yes.
I forgot who came up with it, but it was so fun.
I think it was
Eric,
I
Eric
think it was
Boyd?
Eric Boyd, and then and then Tony said that's the name. So
Yeah.
2 Drink Minimum.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was Eric Boyd. It was so cool.
Is the name. We're going to rotate in a 7th character every time we sit down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that way we get a lot of people that want to play with Ed and experience it. So the first time, and it's 6 to 8 weeks out. I'm not sure of a date yet, but Mike Disney is going to play a character the next time we do it.
I'm
as
looking
the 7th
forward to that.
character.
What a
so
wonderful addition to that group. Yeah.
Yes, and then so we'll rotate in some people for that group. Just note, so 2 Drink Minimum is now like the Barrier Geeks in Greyhawk, Cannon Fodder and Greyhawk, and the other group I have with Kayla and Mike and Anna, and we have that other group with Amy and all. They're unnamed too. So those are the groups rotating for my Saturday night specials. Also note that Tim will be getting with his players to start up his Barbarian campaign past the session 0. I'm thinking it's going to be first or second weekend in June, and it'll be a Saturday morning more than likely. So that's coming up. Plus, we are working on a second fundraiser. It's going to be the Bad Adventure fundraiser. Blue Box and Blue Box and myself. We have 2 streamers. We may look for as many as 2 more. That's it. We're going to leave it one day, but we're going to run we're going to run Child's Play or Puppets or Gargoyles or
the
Doom
fun,
Grinder.
ridiculous kind of games.
It'll be benefiting St. Jude. Eric Mona, James Jacobs, and Jason Bowman will be playing in my game at minimum. So we're working on that too. Lots going on.
Yep.
All right. So let's do the giveaway.
Yeah, and thank you everyone who came and watched, and you've been awesome coming with comments and questions and cheers and stuff. It's fantastic. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of cool questions and stuff.
You can't. That is so large there. Maybe if someone wanted to do that one, but I like the 4 we picked. So here we go. Wait a minute. Now, of course, let me go back and forth. It's not showing me being. There we go. So it was fun. Okay, well, it was so much fun, and I appreciate everyone that for you all, because I'm such a wonderful and benevolent host. Make it 2 of them. Thank you, Canadian. So 2 drawings for 2 of them.
Oh, Adventure Begins. That's a good. Oh, they're great. Yep.
Okay. All right, so we get 2 winners here. First winner, Hagar the Horrible. Hagar, you want to claim it?
Awesome.
Let's make sure Hagar is on, and he will claim it.
Hagar the Horrible. I love that. That
Hagar
nick
the
is
Horrible.
fantastic. Yeah.
Let me make sure. Yes, you are, Hagar. I think I have your address already. If I don't, just whisper it to me, but I think I have your name and address already, Hagar. Okay, second winner, as we added one in. Okay, and then we're going to rate in the Time Lord's wife. Okay, and
cool.
I don't know if she's just chatting or playing or whatever. It's her anniversary. Just give her a little love because she's doing a real good job with the community. All right, and you can tell my voice is about completely gone. Cal Staff, there you go. Look at that timing.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Congrats, man. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you all. Congrats. Awesome. Cal Steph, I know I have your name. Just send me your address. So if I don't have it already, I may have it. So thank you all. And I'm going to crash my adrenaline was so high. I barely
Yeah,
slept when I got done last
running
night.
that game.
So
Yeah, and
1 year anniversary of streaming, and she was going to do it last night, but because I had the Ed game on, she kind of put it off a day. So thank you everyone for participating. I'm going to hit the wrong button like I normally do, and we'll see you Wednesday night for a great Legends and Lore. Have a
Yep.
great week, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon. Let's raid into Kayla.
Yeah, Magic will show perfect comment. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be perfect step right in.
Yep.
All right, that's a great number. 65. Sounds good. 5 seconds. Hey, my pleasure, everyone. I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Raiding in now. We'll see you soon. Let's just make sure that worked. She's not showing up. Did it work?
Yeah, we at least chat
Yes?
moved
Did it?
over, so it seems to work. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Just wanted to make sure before I ended everything.
Yeah.
Because once I end the stream,